We're back. Are we back? Am I back? Woo. Am I back, friends? Am I back? Are people still there? No, I had to start it. Oh my god. Okay, I'm back. Let's see. Let's see how this goes. I'm back, baby. Testing 1, 2. Are we back? Just checking, friends. So sorry for the thing. If I got any chatters that came back, I appreciate you so much. Go ahead and hit up that chat, friends, as soon as just let me know that you're back. Hey, we got a new player. We got a new player in here. Mama Anna. Okay, you back. I don't know why I thought that said, okay, you bitch. I was like, whoa, whoa, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm working, I am DJing this stuff all by myself. Ricka stream, Ricka record, Ricka test streams and streams. My bad, friends. Thank you so much for coming back. I don't know what happened. I don't know where he been. Oh my god. Now I'm never going to get any people. This sucks. You know what it is, friends? It's the man trying to keep me down. It's the man trying to keep me down, friends. They don't want me to talk about comedy. They don't want me to give you my 2 cents about comedy and wokeness and all that other business. They just want me to be a silent voice in all this. But I refuse. I refuse to leave you without a fresh perspective on all this stuff. I refuse to let that be the case for the people who are engaging with me. And that is not going to happen, my friends. We are doing this right now. Right now. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to upset all kinds of establishments. Okay? Okay, we're going to upset Taco Bells, Del Tacos, Pizza Huts. Nah. Nah, Jimmy John's. I know a lot of people don't like that guy because apparently this man kills endangered species. What an a-hole. But before I get into all that, I gotta drink my Lithuanian whiskey. Ham. Oh. Tastes like tuna. Oh man, can you imagine if whiskey tasted like tuna? That's something that it wouldn't be like, oh, this is a fine whiskey bourbon thing. This would be, oh my. Stephanie T said, boo, Jimmy John's. And actually, I don't really have a problem with like Taco Bell or Del Taco or anything like that. So we're just letting people come back into the chat. Man, I hope so. I'm recording again. The stream is happening. I hope that brings more people back again. So we got 4 viewers. Sweet. Just double checking here. It's gonna get real bright. Oh, my face. Oh, my face. Look at my face. Yeah, I'm not touching anything to do with that screen. Nope, nope, nope. Nobody, nope. That is not happening again. I don't want to tax. I have a good laptop, friends, okay? I did a decent amount of research to get this laptop when I was working on video editing with myself and my best bud when we were doing our comedy thing. I promise this is a segue. It's a segue here. Segue for comedy, see? Because did comedy. And so I was like, hey, what's a really good editing software? Good has, good hard drive, good RAM and everything like that for a laptop. And this one's good, but this is like apparently streaming and video, all that kind of stuff. That's a whole different beast for a machine to deal with. So when I upgrade, hey, if you ever want to support the channel, you got the links in the description box below. Just click and you can donate and stuff. Ana Gonzalez said, Ana Mama says, I don't care what people say, you are very entertaining. that is like, in movies, you see that kind of compliment and you're like, wow, that's backhanded as heck. And I know that is not where Mama Anna came from with that, my mama. Because that implies that, like, everybody comes up to my mom and are like, hey, your son, wow, he is wildly unentertaining and I hate him. I hate your son. He sucks. He sucks so much foot. And I hope he chokes on a sock. Like, that's what it says. Like, I don't care what people say. You're entertaining. And they're like, no, he's not. That's funny. That is hilarious. But now that we've been on for a little bit, friends, around 7 minutes, we're back in action. We're going into comedy. What is comedy? I don't know if you could read it there, but it says a genre that consists of discourses or works intended to be humorous or amusing by inducing laughter, especially in theater, film, stand-up comedy, television, radio, books, and any other entertainment medium. Yeah, I'd say that's about right. That's comedy, right? That's it. Anything that makes you just kind of go, you laugh at things. Simple. Simple. What am I saying? Simple, right? Everybody does such things. Why does this type of thing get a little weird? You know? Because maybe there's all types of comedy. And I'm going to pause it out to everybody out there. What's your favorite type of comedy? Tell me. Put it in the chat. What is your favorite type of comedy? Let me know. Do you have one? And it doesn't have to be like a specific kind, or, it can be in the form of movies, it can be stand-up comedy, it can be television, it can be live theater, it can be something in the Cirque du Soleil or whatever thing. Jason Camacho, hey, yes, welcome back, as I am back now. We're just getting into the scholastics of it. The scholastics of the topic. Oh, see, this is why Jay, Steph Camacho, and Stephanie T are kindred to me, because slapstick is easily definitely in line with one of my favorite types of comedy. Absolutely, just freaking fantastic. And here's the thing. I'll give everybody a little bit of like. So this is the thing, right? This is all comedy. And to I was before I messed up something in my thingamawhopper. I read this so most people don't have to. I read this whole article on Wikipedia. Therefore, I am in fact a historical genius when it comes to all things comedy. As I read the first Wikipedia page, and I did read some of the kind of the little flags and the notes here going into it. So we got some airplane hotshots, classics. We're gonna get into all of those. I promise. We're gonna get into all the things like that. Especially because, so the one that seems to be the thing that apparently seems to cause the most controversy right now is a stand-up. Stand-up comedy seems to be the thing that's big noise out there in the big bad world. So, yeah, okay. Stand-up and sketch, fantastic. Romantic comedy, you know, when a romantic comedy is done really well, Mama Anna, Mama, it's fantastic. A sketch comedy, dramedy, like, right? See, and this is just making my point. Like anything usually tied to comedy, people really like, right? Like it's that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Okay? And it's so weird because right now we think of something of comedy, a little bit of history is like we tend to think of comedy as just something that's usually very low stakes and ha 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 ha, and that's it, you know, as opposed to, you know, if you watch something like Schindler's List or you know, Escape from Sobibor, which is a terrible concentration camp movie, which is, I guess, so is Schindler's List in a way. Wow, there's just a lot of depressing movies about the Holocaust. I wonder why that is. I don't know. But if you walk away from watching movies like that and go, ha 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 ha, people are gonna think you're a bit of a psychopath and not a cool one like, you know, Hannibal Lecter or Slim Shady. No, you're an actual like asshole psychopath. But you know, like back in the day, comedy was pretty much thought of as like, oh, because everybody didn't die at the end of the play. That was comedy. That was considered a comedy. Or somebody, usually a what would you might consider a quote unquote low class person, they got what they wanted or something happened that changed their life. That was considered a comedy back in the old days, like in the Grecian days. And like it also, like, it's gone through so many metamorphosi in history. And I know a lot of things that happen in like Western culture, our understanding of comedy in Western culture, particularly, you know, in the United States, and I'm pretty sure parts of you know, Great Britain, you know, just mostly of the the countries where they're heavily influenced by you know, Grecian history, like Latin, you know, speak Latin, speaking the all timely Latin and Grecian and stuff like that. I don't know if that's any historically accurate, but I'll stick to here in the West. A lot of our stuff comes from Greek. You know, our theater and everything gets a lot of their origins and a lot of our influence from Grecian comedies, which is what I said before. But comedy has been around for a lot longer, or just as long in that form, in different cultures that aren't in the Greek culture. Like even have, you know, in ancient India, even in the original Americas pre-conquest, you know, like indigenous Americans in North and South America, they had their version of comedy too, of what they would consider comedy. And it's always, from what I understand, it's always in a way satirical or bombastic or commentative in one way, shape, or form, kind of making fun of different things that humans do or observations in the way of nature. It's just, it's everything, right? And you just look at it and it's something to kind of connective tissue of of wow, that's what an odd thing or what a different thing, and let's look at that, and then we laugh because we have a shared experience with a particular thing that a group of people can observe. Jason Mikamash says dark comedy. Yeah, dark. Oh yeah, back in the day, comedy was dark. So when I read this full dissertation, this full PhD dissertation here on Wikipedia, so many things going on here. You, you have to realize that apparently comedy was always, in one way, shape, or form, used as satire and critical, like critical punching of a society and civilization to take the piss out of those in power, make life more livable for those who are under the rung of those in power. It always had a sort of satirical element to it. And some people, I had to actually, really kind of solidify this, the difference between something like satire and parody. And there's a couple different things essentially saying that satire kind of makes fun of or takes a gut punch or takes the piss out of things that you might want to say. Starts basically clowning on something out in society, whether it be government, everyday living. And then there's parody, which is kind of like it's a form of satire, and the parody tends to be like you're satirizing a piece of work. Does that make sense? It's basically satirizing something out in the real world, parody a piece of work that is like emblematic of something that already exists, but then you're making fun of that thing that's made that already exists in the world. Like you parody a drama movie, but say like if you just did a satire, that comedy movie is making fun of like the drama in the world. That's kind of what you're getting at there with comedy and stuff like that. So it's just so much to actually dig into when it comes to types of comedy. The reason I wanted to go into this is that it's just I wanted to bring so much confusion to you guys and leave you way more absolutely dumbfounded than when you first started watching this stream, because that's just what I do as a clown. I'm supposed to leave you way more confused and have absolutely no answers for you. So I wanted to actually do that is because I wanted to stick in your brain holes that it's very extensive and there's no one way of comedy. It's been filtered down throughout the years, but there's no it's evolved, but it's also stripped away some things throughout history. Some things that would have been really hilarious and would have got people, really either in trouble for or just sort of like, oh, bravo, yes, this is brilliant, bravo. Like right now, whatever people nowadays would see that and be like, what the hell is that? Comedy has evolved. I want you to keep that in mind. Comedy has evolved. Comedy tends to evolve with the times. Which leads me to this other thing that you might have saw in my thumbnail. You want to know what that is? This thing called woke. This word called wokeness. Now, what does wokeness mean? I'm sure you hear it all the time if you're kind of politically savvy, if you're, I don't know, if you're any type of in the landscape of popular culture and everything going around. It's like woke is a word that's just getting fucking thrown around. I've seen less things thrown around at a baseball game / basketball game / peace pipe makings / what else do you throw? I don't know. Children. We got some more people. It's a dark comedy, like scary movie. Yeah, scary movie. Scary movie is pretty much a parody. Airplane is a parody. Naked Gun is a parody. Done well improv. Yeah, that is this like slapstick and improv are just at beautiful odds for myself. But yeah, improv. And yes, done well. But just like any other thing, I have seen some crazy improv that just makes you. It makes you want to poop. It's done so. I've been the one to do it. I've done improv so badly that people just sitting there and they want to poop, and they would rather just be infected with gingivitis than continue to watch whatever the hell it was that I was doing with my team. And I'm so sorry I subjected it to. Whose lines in it? Yeah, those guys are masters. Those guys are masters, and there's a reason that show is still on. And these guys are making just the most beautiful living, probably one of the easiest livings. You'll hear them say it. Colin Mockery and Ryan Stiles, and they all kind of say like, "Wow, we feel like hacks, because how are we getting away with this by just doing silly improv every day?" It's great. So yeah, we go on to this thing called woke. This woke thing. Now, just like comedy, woke has all kinds of meaning. So I'm gonna go through just a few to kind of we're all gonna be on the same page. Alley-oop. Okay, so woke. The first one we have is from the Oxford Leonel's Dictionary. Woke. So I understand woke. Adjective. Thank you, Trisha. Oh, nope, no more Trisha. Now we have Cindy, Monique, thank you. Todo a través de la CSU. Good. Yes, California State University. And Oxford Dictionary describes this as comparative worker, suitulative woker, aware of social and political issues and concerned that some groups of society are treated less fairly than others. This word is often used in a disapproving way by people who oppose new ideas and political change and think that some other people are too easily upset about these issues. Ooh, oh, that's controversial. Many people believe that woke ideology is dominant in the mainstream media. Right-wing parties have not been slow to realize that a war on woke can win them votes. Wow. I did not expect that from Oxford. They went in hard, not just with the definition, but they gave you a political freaking a nice political dressing on that. Nice political freaking icing on that cake. Now we shall turn to Merriam-Webster.com dictionary. Just to, we're just getting the different ones, okay? Just getting the different ones. What is this? What's going on? So many ads. How do people get on? I remember when the internet didn't have this many. So I typed in woke, and now it's just like stay woke. I mean, sure. Okay, so what to know about woke? Woke is now defined in this dictionary as aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues, especially issues of racial and social injustice, and identified as U.S. slang. It originated in African American English and gained more widespread use beginning of 2014 as part of the Black Lives Matter movement. By the end of that same decade, it was also being applied by some as a general pejorative for anyone who is or appears to be politically left-leaning. So they went into a little bit more of, from what I have found, of the history of the word woke. It was, I believe it was an African American. I think he was like an activist and a blues singer, if I'm not mistaken, or he might have been a poet, an author. But just in regards to a lot of that crazy turmoil that America went through back in like the 50s and 60s. You know, we were kind of weird back in those days. Things weren't very nice for all kinds of people and all kinds of things. But the term woke was like, hey, things aren't cool. If you're aware, stay woke. You gotta stay woke. You gotta be like, you got that is the physical embodiment of woke. Just because just stay aware. Stay aware of things going on in the world to people who don't have it as easy. Okay? Okay. Now we go to actually what I believe is the source of all things linguistic and just the actual, like, this is basically as close to the divine word as you can get, and that's Urban Dictionary. Woke. Bam. Woke. When this term became popularized, initially the meaning of this term was when an individual became more aware of the social injustice, or basically any current affairs related, like bias, discrimination, and double standards. However, as time passed by, people started using this term recklessly, assigning this term to themselves or someone who they know to boost their confidence and reassure them that they have the moral high grounds and are fighting for the better world. And sometimes even using it as a way to protect themselves from other people's opinions by considering the outsider as non-woke. While people that are in line with the beliefs as woke, meaning that those outsiders have been brainwashed by the society and couldn't see the truth, thus filtering everything that the outsider gives, regardless of whether it is rational or not. As of now, the original meaning is slowly fading and instead is used more often term as hypocritical, and they think they are enlightened despite the fact that they are extremely closed-minded and are unable to accept other people's criticisms or different perspectives, especially considering the existence of the echo chamber media, and help them to find the other like-minded individuals, thus further solidifying their progressive opinion. That has been the thing that is considered woke, friends. The closed-minded, something co-opted by people who are predominantly left-leaning in political ideology and stuff. So I just gotta fix my mean girl do. Oh my god. Like, how do you look like that and still be that gosh damn sexy? So I've noticed that it tends to depend on I'm not gonna cut. No. I'm not that arrogant to be like, oh, look at my punum. Look at my crazy punum. Let's go back to there right about now. Hey, look, there I am. There's oh, look at this guy, isn't he cute? My big old ears with the taxi with the doors open going. Now, what does that mean for all these things, friends? Yoink. What is this? What is going on with this stuff? So, people, I don't know, like, so obviously it depends on who you ask, right? This whole thing about woke, because depending on what side of the first off, I gotta say, like, the fact that the most things are binary in nature is apparently not a thing. Like, binary as in, like, so it's like you only giving yourself two options. So it's like woke being aware of the social injustice, or woke being like way too closed-minded and therefore hypocritical in somebody's opposing ideology, right? And it's like, that's it. That's all it can be. And as far as for comedy, that sucks. Because just like anything else in the world, very, very few things don't extend themselves to nuance. If you actually look at stuff beyond like surface level digging. And it's like, why would you do that? Because comedically, you could explore so much, and you could, I don't know, hit on something that's actually kind of really insightful and can actually do really well to bring people of different mindsets to your space and actually plant a hefty amount of seeds for understanding. Does that make sense? Just like Ana Gonzalez says, we can agree to disagree. I always had a very interesting wrestling match with that phrase. We can agree to disagree. Now, I think there's a post online. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see, because it actually kind of. Oh God, I forgot how to type with my clown finger. Agree to disagree, but not the meaning. I saw this and I was like, hey, a person after my own heart. I think it's this one. Can y'all see that? Let me see. I can try and boop. I can hey you move. Gotta move. No. Can you see? Can you see? No. What? Who are you? This is something I was like, hey, that's interesting. I like that. Agree to disagree is reserved for things like I don't like coffee, not racism, homophobia, and sexism, not human rights, not basic common decency. If I infringe, well, it is personal. Yeah, see, that's where I got to be like, I kind of feel like that. Like, agree to disagree. If you break that down into like its context, to agree to disagree, that seems to like, it really seems to just break all effort into coming to an understanding, which I know is very hard. It is extremely hard to try and be like, well, see, some people are less than and therefore should be treated as such. And you're like, well, I don't think people are less than. I think it's just, things are different. Well, let's agree to disagree. I was like, well, no, it's causing people a lot of harm. Well, if they weren't who they were, they wouldn't be in harm. And it's like, that's not smart. Like, we're supposed to be better than that, right? As human beings, we're supposed to actually try to figure out what's going on. I wonder who made this. Let me see. I wonder who made this statement. Agree to disagree. Who? Let's learn a thing or two, friends. Who first said agree? Who the hell is John Weasley? I thought you were in the Harry Potter universe, sir. John Weasley and George Whitfield are credited with popularizing the phrase agree to disagree. Think and let think. What? Okay, let's go to good old-fashioned Wikipedia. So it says to agree to disagree is to resolve a conflict, usually a debate or quarrel, by having all parties tolerating but not accepting the opposing positions. It generally occurs when all sides recognize that further conflict would be unnecessary, ineffective, or otherwise undesirable. And who are these people? Because, like, that's what I mean. Like, where's your face? Who are you, sir? Was an English Anglican minister and preacher who was one of the founders of Methodism and the evangelical movement from 1714, December 1714 to 1770. Huh, he was young. Okay. And then John Wesley. Oh, I thought it said Weasley. I was like, hey, the Weasley is there. An English cleric, theologian, and evangelist, and leader of a revival movement with the Church of England around the same time in the 1700s. Well, no offense. Well, not offense, but like there's something to be said, right? About two prominent religious figures or prominent church-going figures talking about, well, the great against the great. Now, maybe they were right. There's no further discussion to be had, right? Because then you're just probably going to either frustrate each other, and then, you know, people get violent with one another. But this was back in the 1700s. We're not like that anymore. That's fine. We can figure it out. But to be honest, I would have been really surprised if that was, I don't know, probably would have been surprised if that was made up by like you know, a Middle Eastern philosopher or African philosopher, you know, somebody in the Latin America, you know, like a philosopher who is just who thinks not in ways that are possibly subjugating. And I'm not even saying that that doesn't happen in other cultures. Of course it does, but like that just lends to like a certain credence of like, of course you just want to stop it because then you stop all discussions. And that's where I kind of am coming at to with this thing about comedy, because now, aside from everything, like, why doesn't it work? I'm going to put that out there, right? Why doesn't comedy now work? People apparently are just so sensitive nowadays. People right now are just getting, oh, the woke mob, and people can't take a joke, and people are just really sucking at comedy, and oh my goodness, like what is going on in the world where people are making the funnies, and like I put in all my descriptions, we're supposed to have these chuckles, but all we're getting are white knuckles. You know the term white knuckle is because you're clenching your fists. It's a little human thing, and because you clench your fists, all the blood is, you're tensing thing, and the blood is going away, so you're white knuckled because of chuckles. Oh, we got some chatters coming in. Hey, all right. Hey, cousin primo, what's up, cuz? Yes, chef. Yes, chef. So J7 Camacho says, well, that's just laziness, but I take that phrase as I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change mine, so let's just accept that we have different views. Okay. Cousin Vic says, that always made me feel like, come to my level of understanding and make me comfortable, even though the subject is so uncomfortable. Your level of understanding is not my level of understanding. Okay. You can listen to the other party. Certain things you may not agree on, and some you may. All right, see? Got a little bit of discourse. How fun is it when a family can come to it? If I was big as some of the other streamers out there in the world, there would be like 800 people, maybe even 1,000, everything like that, and people would be just throwing all kinds of crazy ass, poopy horse shit with them. But I take that. But so to start off with Stephanie Jerry Camacho's thing, where that's just laziness, but I take that phrase, I'm not going to change your mind, you're not going to change mine, so let's just accept that we have different views. That is absolutely, and I think that's where that gives credence to the thing I pulled up earlier, where it's like with coffee, with pineapple on pizza, with, hey, is anal okay to do when your parents are around? Absolutely, we can agree to disagree. When it comes to like social issues where you are causing like a real problem and there's a hefty amount of suffering, I think it would possibly really benefit the whole wide world of people's like the needs of them, as Mr. Spock said from Star Wars Episode 9, The Force of the Enterprise says, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Which again, even Spock is like, sometimes that works, sometimes that really sucks. Oh man, how do you do this thing? See, nuance, folks. That's why I end all my streams with these nuances shits. Fuck. My mom is in the stream, so I'll try to keep the cursing to a minimum. Thank you, Mrs. Mama. I will do my best to not curse. But seriously, fuck. It's tough. Come to my level, and so that's where I get that thing for. So just to respond to Jay Stephen Camacho, like, I think you're right, because sometimes it's just you can't, whether it be because of your cultural upbringing, ideology, because especially if you're on a political thing, you're backed by people who probably feel stronger about certain things, and they want all their things done, but you want all your, like, it's crazy, right? And to come to what Cousin Vic says, even though your subject is so uncomfortable, come to an understanding, come meet me at my level. Your level of understanding is not my level of understanding, which, like, that's why I think like a dignitary, maybe somebody like C-3PO could actually break walls and everything like that. C-3PO could be like human cyborg relations, but maybe we could program him to just be human relations, and this is how I can present these things, with my counterpart R2D2 tweet. I just think it takes a really special type of person to be able to do that, right? Like it really does take maybe like a really exceptional maestro of some kind to be able to really bring people into understanding. But humans are gonna human, and obviously people come with agendas, and I know that that's even harder to deal with, and they come with like entitlements and superiority. Hold on, let me just get some of my Nebraskan whiskey. Oh my god, it's like the gentlest kick to the nuts. And I don't mean like testicles, I mean like if you just had a bag of nuts and somebody kicked them. And then Mama Anna says you can listen to the other party. Certain things you may not agree with, some you may. I mean, yeah, that's true. And I know that's where it's just very difficult. It's just so difficult to do that in what we have just entitled, like, just so superior as held with civilization. Just so we just civilized. Oh, we just disagree. But see, usually that means somebody suffers. So And she also says they are so offended. It's nice to laugh. Oh, Mama Anna, we're gonna get to that and the meaning of what it means to be offended, but also what it means to laugh, because even that comes with a butt ton of nuance. Cousin Primo says the problem with agree to disagree is you get yellow face, black face, and brown face. That is a problem when you're laughing at someone instead of laughing with them. I mean, that, to bring it back to the topic at hand, absolutely. Yoink. Absolutely. You're coming into something that's it's, again, just like a dignitary, might be really hard to use those words and understanding to bridge a serious gap between people who think of two completely different things and a different way of living. Oh, damn. Now, if we're talking about comedy, I almost forgot that that's what we're talking about. Especially so we got to this comedy thing, right? Which, yoink, just a little ha-has right there. But focus on me first. Focus on me, not the little ha-ha right there. Hence the thing, the ha-ha, but the okay? That's why I have that there. Ha-ha! Huh. Yeah? Are we getting it now? skipped your comment. I didn't skip your comment, did I? What do you mean I skipped my comment? No. Well, that's just laziness. The last one I got to was you had the Who's Line one. I didn't skip your comment, sister. I got you. Clarissa explains it all, sister. Okay, because family matters. Okay, we grew up in a full house, and every night we said cheers, and we had mash to potatoes. So when we I'm going to start off by saying something that I think if I did skip it, which skip show me which one. I did not mean to if I skipped your comment. Also, maybe it might have not shown up in the chat, possibly. Let me double check. Yoink. Oh, look at my head. Oh wow, I don't see that one. It didn't come up on my little chat refresh over here, huh? It didn't, yeah, my chat refresh. I think I see one because people are stupid. Something about little bitches. Hold on, let me yoink. Let me see. Okay, so I guess I did. that honestly, sister, that one did not come up in the thing. It was like because people are stupid, being sensitive little bitches. I was right. Yeah, I don't know why it didn't come up on my stream chat. It came up on the screen, like here. It came up for you guys, but it didn't come up on my stream chat for some reason. Maybe because it had the word. I think because it had the word bitches in it. I have a little just to let people know. Like I have a thing in here that it's supposed to monitor like hateful comments, and maybe because you said they're little bitches, sis. Maybe. So maybe that it might have done like an AI thing, kind of automatically filtered out hateful language. I could probably turn that off because I'm not big enough to have like a bunch of people saying really hateful things. Shoop. Quite yet. Unless you guys just went balls freaking just gut to the wall, pelvis to the wall deep, and just spewing off the most hateful things. That would as weird as that would be, at least it'd be. I don't even know if that'd be funny. I'd be really shocked. I'd be legitimately shocked. So, anyways, I'm gonna start off with something that I heard the awesome Alan Moore talk about. If you guys don't know who Alan Moore, if anybody out there who doesn't know who Alan Moore is an author who's most famous for writing the Watchmen graphic novel. He also wrote V for Vendetta. He wrote From Hell. He did a thing on the Swamp Thing. He's also credited with giving probably the most iconic Batman story and Joker origin story called The Killing Joke. He's one of my favorite authors. In one of his classes, in his Maestro course, it's kind of like the BBC's version of the master class. Y'all probably seen the ads on the internet and something. And he goes, in my best Alan Moore impression, he's like, a writer could change the world. See, when a bard, when you use language, I am butchering his words right now, but when you use language, it's sort of magic. It's a type of magic. It's a spell. What do you do with words you spell? V for Vendetta, tell him his ending sucked ass. He wrote the comic book. He did not have anything to do with the movie. Although, I think roughly it's the same thing, so I guess that doesn't matter. Sorry, Steph, but yes, V, unfortunately, spoilers, everybody, V unfortunately had to die, but the the graphic novel is way more nuanced than the film, and I love the film. So back to Alan Moore. He says, writers, words you spell with words. Now, see, what I mean is, words can be used as a sort of magic. If someone were to put a hex on you, your chickens would lay a bit funny. Maybe your kids will fall a bit ill. But if a bard put a satire on you, I'm trying my best. If a bard put a satire on you, maybe wrote a song about you, your legacy as a person is basically tainted throughout history. He ruins your legacy. You sound like Michael Caine. Hey, shut up! I'm doing my best, okay? I'm doing my best to do my best. He has like a deep, gruff voice. But anyway, he affectionately, what he says is, someone who puts a satire on you, who uses, if the words are clever enough, they can essentially dismantle your legacy. If a comedian, so going back to that, if a comedian took down, if you're talking about a monarchy or something like that, somebody who was in charge, or here in the Americas, the president, if you had a comedian use the most perfect set of words that can completely dismantle anything that president might have done, whether good, bad, or indifferent, he's like, that is what will be remembered throughout history. And it's pretty substantially true. Like, if Kendrick Lamar and Eminem got together and wrote just a scathing thing about a president, I'm pretty sure that song would be way louder in the echoes of history than anything the president might have done, at least in the consciousness of the commune. Obviously actions very much do speak, especially with people in power, because they deal with the generations, right? But like a comedian can make everybody get like just the weirdest sense of you. Hence why when people say like people are easily offended, it's like, well, I mean, yeah. Why though? Right? That's the question. Why is this offensive in some things? So I want to pose a question to my chat out there. Okay. Who are some of your favorite people who do comedy? Comedians. I'll share a few of mine. Like, I had three probably big comedy influences growing up. Maybe four, if I'm so serious. There was cartoons, so basically like Looney Tunes, and sort of when I was younger, Schnick was a big thing. If I ever get in the future, if I ever get people coming up with youngsters back in the day, the the channel Nickelodeon had something called Snick, and it was basically like Saturday. I think it was like Saturday night cartoons. You had Saturday morning cartoons, but you had Saturday night cartoons. But mainly, you had, like, for me, comedic influences were very much like the Looney Tunes. So I had those. That was one of the major influences. Then, one of them very much, J7 Camacho says, like stand-up comedians, anybody. Stand-up comedians, comedic performers, people and actors and TV shows. movies, and things like that, like throw them in there. Throw them in there, chat. Because I'll give you some of my few, but just like, you know, yeah, go ahead and throw them in there because I was just thinking because I got so much to say and I'm trying to keep on track with this stuff because I could talk about this for the rest of the evening. I really could. So there was Looney Tunes, and then we had, to the best of my recollection, my brilliant big sister introduced me to a show called In Living Color. And there, you saw the Wayans family. Those are kind of like the originators of the show. I think Keenan Ivory Wayans was the creator of the show. I remember In Living Color. That was probably one of the biggest one. And then I remember what was it? Culture Clash and like Get Locos. That's and I kind of felt like they were all intertwined, all intertwined. Victor Stars, In Living Color, and Culture Clash. Yay! Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see? So there was In Living Color and Culture Clash, which also meant, the probably the one who got real big from In Living Color. Anybody out there who's a little bit of trivia who was probably arguably like the one who blew up because of In Living Color? Brrr, drum roll. Brrr. Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey blew up, and he was probably one of my biggest ones. And then I guess this wasn't any. So I guess I could. So Jim Carrey was stuff like that. It was very much influential in my comedy, in like the comedy influences. And then I had, just not even knowing why, when, or where, but then I had the sort of filmography of what I saw from Mel Brooks, specifically Spaceballs and Robin Hood Men in Tights. I didn't watch Blazing Saddles until I was much older, or like The Producers. What was another one that I'm trying to think of Mel Brooks? Oh my god. But anyways, like that type of the Mel Brooks, Abrams-esque slapstick spoof comedies that we mentioned before. Those are probably my biggest ones growing up as a kid. That sort of informed what comedy was when I was much younger, and it's just brilliant, right? It was a peak form of comedy, especially with In Living Color being as that was like biting satire and everything like that. Okay, so who we got here? So Victor Salas says In Living Color and Culture Clash, J. Stephanie Camacho, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Leslie Nielsen, Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart. Too many. I mean, yeah. Stephanie T says Jim Jeffries, Michelle Wolf, Louis C.K., Titus. Oh man, we can go into every single one of those. Victor says I Love Lucy. Oh yeah, yep. I remember watching that with cousins and auntie, and just like, yeah, I Love Lucy, revolutionary show. A female lead with a non, like a female, like a white female, but a female lead with a very, very heavy supporting, with Desi Arnaz being a Latino man back in like the 50s. Like that's pretty hefty. Mama Anna says Don Rickles, he offered everyone with jokes and insults. Very funny. I imagine you said he offended. Did you mean offered everyone? Yeah. I really should look up if Don Rickles offended. Like, I wonder if he got backlash. I would love to look that up. I think I might later. Because not in the same way that I don't know if I've ever heard of Don Rickles getting like persecuted. I guess is that the right legal term? Like Mr. Rickles didn't go to jail because of his jokes, but like Lenny Bruce did, George Carlin did, I think Pryor did. I don't know. I know he had gotten incarcerated for personal activities, but I don't know if he ever got incarcerated because of his comedy. But I know like they did, and a few choice others. These are all great, friends. Like Culture Clash, Chappelle Show, Mad TV. I forgot about Mad TV. Yeah, Spaceballs. Don Rickles, hilarious. I'm also gonna put into the. If you do, let me know. If you do what, mama na na, do 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 do, mana do 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 do. If you do, let me know. What did you mean by that, Mama Anna? One of my personal favorites, and this is getting into what I can foresee of that's gonna be like a little bit weird for this topic, right? Because I prefer to come at this whole woke business with that essence of being aware of your society and the ills that trouble it. Now, I know that basically means like anybody can see an ill, right? Anybody can see something as a particular ill. But when you're taking your social structures and like doing something that's supposed to be like ingrained and like help people and maybe bridge some gaps, you know, that's pretty tough to do. I want to introduce you guys to somebody. He's potentially one of my favorite comedians of all time. And I don't think my man gets enough credit. Honestly. Now, I could be bullshitting. I really could be bullshitting that, like, obviously this man doesn't need my help, right? He's probably doing so well, and I know he's had a great career. He is a very, very just hard-hitting comedian, and he's brilliant at it. I want to introduce you guys to one of my favorites. My man's name is Christopher Titus. I love this guy. Got a little thing right here, just kind of paused. Now, to give you some context, I think he's talking about trans people in the military. Titus, please don't demonetize my video. I'm hyping you up, sir.
Titus, who's the bravest man in your platoon? Linda. And I will follow him anywhere. In fact, I'm going to draft transgender people into the military and form elite groups of trans SEALs. And we will never go to war ever again. We are going to kill the infidel Americans. Who are they sending over? Well, sir, intelligence tells us they're sending over the trans SEALs. Ah! Who are these trans SEAls? Sir, it's a group of people who cut off their testicles and sewed up their vaginas. Ah! They were prisoners. It was punishment. No.
Like, so at any given time, somebody could take that and like somebody could be offended by that. Sure. If they could call him out on misgendering somebody on an extremely conservative side is like, I don't want no transgender people in the military. What kind of bullcrap is that? Like, but just hear the man out and see if you can notice something.
They asked to have it done, then paid for it themselves. Changing hearts and minds, bitches. That trans seal bit I did, first time I wrote it, I was doing it at the downtown club here in Arizona and in Phoenix, and I did it. Next day, my Facebook lights up with his mom flipping out 5 paragraphs. Oh my God, my son is trans and he loved you. You're his favorite comedian. And send you that trans bit, he hates you now. And he wants you to know it's not a mutilation, it's a restoration. Well, restoration means you put it back the way it was originally. At best, it's a renovation. And you really just remodeled the bathroom. Oh, yeah. Call out everybody. So as president, I'm going to give you a country with a little more automatic health care, a little less automatic weapons. A country where facts trump opinion. And facts about Trump change your fucking opinion.
Wow. By the way, I gotta say, I think I bypassed the timestamp. I didn't mean to, but it basically says, by the way, if you're in the military, if you take a bullet for the country, I don't care what you are. If you're, you know, black, white, trans, gay, lesbian, whatever, you jump in front of a bullet for the country, I salute you. That's how he basically prefaced the joke. And yeah, the reason I go to Titus is because he's still a little bit. My man's been doing this for a long time. And he's pretty old school when it comes to certain things. But like he said, he calls out everybody on any side. If you come at him with something that he might find, you know, ridiculous, he's gonna pretty much dismantle you, because that's what this man does. And he's got so much, like, Amerigeddon, great special. He's a guy who has, I gotta tell you right now, my man has every one of his comedy specials on his channel on YouTube. He has every one of his comedy specials available on his channel. His show that he had on Fox ran for like 3 seasons. It's all available on his channel. I'm assuming / hoping that means he got like the rights to all of his stuff and he can show it, or at the very least, if it's kind of still co-owned with Fox, he's like, you know, he gets a nice little chunk of that, you know, which is really cool. I was introduced to this man from his show. Okay, and I gotta say, his show, his sitcom, essentially, it was a situational comedy. His show was so ahead of its time when it came to subject matter, when it came to pushing, like the comfortable boundaries of things like domestic violence, assault, mental illness, you know, familial trauma, and like abuse. Like, he made all and the money, actual, just crazy, so many things, and he is a master at turning the dark things into funny, like beyond anything. One of his jokes in his show, I want to see if I can find it, because let me see if I can just skip around.
I really do. It's getting weirder, isn't it? Professional comment, it's not their fault. And I thought he was easy to get. I was raised by an alcoholic father. But I was cool with that. You know why? Because I hated waiting. More street to crawl. It's coming out of me, but I'm watching the news all the time. Crazy. They got to back him up. I got fans in Texas on the border. And I were driving somewhere listening to the poll. And dang, we gonna shoot him.
That's for my lovely partner, because that part made her crack up, and he's talking about people shooting drugs over the wall. That he's basically talking about Trump build the wall, and just that they were going to build a catapult and shoot the drugs over the wall. Dang. we are gonna choose. It's the part that makes my partner laugh so hard every time. I love it. Now, one of his jokes in this special right here, he's basically commenting on when Donald Trump ran the race against Hillary and then Trump won. And he said, and I quote, "We didn't want a vagina in the White House, so we voted for the other side of the taint." And he goes on a whole spiel about how the joke, a well-crafted joke like that, can bring people together. And it's just, I remember watching that, okay? As a comedian. I know you guys, okay, so guys, people, I've been doing comedy like in some capacity since just out of high school. So that's about, I've been doing some form of comedy for just over 20 something years. Okay, I've done so much improvisational comedy. I dipped pretty much like, I got knee deep into stand up. I've done comedic musicals. I've done comedic plays. A buddy of mine, we used to we had our own YouTube channel called Loud in the Fog, where we did sketches and improv comedy and comedic podcasts. I've ran the gambit on so many things, and sure, I am nowhere near as experienced nor as famous as so many comedians out there, but I know the playing field and I know what it's about. And I know where the cracks are in myself and then in the landscape of all kinds of stuff. Like I'm aware of it because I've been doing it for so long. But when he said that joke, I'll repeat it. Regards to Trump versus Hillary. We didn't want a vagina in the White House, so we voted for the other side of the taint. I didn't laugh because I sunk into this weird existential void, like my man Daniel Kaluuya in Get Out when he was getting hypnotized and he was falling into the space water when he did. I was just like, what is this set of words that? Oh my God, that is brilliant. Because it was just so brilliant. Because if you are a diehard Trump fan or you hate the man or anything in between, you gotta admit that is just a funny joke. And not even just a hit piece on Trump. It's a hit piece on like the American mentality, and there's just so many layers to it. And also, like, sure, you could even say, as much as you might love our now president-elect Donald Trump, to be a businessman, you got to be a businessman with any type of success or whatever, or to be just kind of like a CEO in charge. You're usually a psychopath of some kind, and you're kind of an asshole. Hence, the other side of the taint. Like, it's brilliant. So, this man constructed a thing with his constructed a thing of his success predominantly with his stand-up, and then he got this show right here, right? And oh, Vader, my little guy, my little nephew Vader, the waiter. Show Titus. And it was just so goddamn, for one, underappreciated because it got, well, he'll tell you, it got canceled because I'm sure they got a lot of pushback because of the material and the things that it was covering. But also, he admitted it himself that he was arrogant, and he got a little too big for his britches, and the president of Fox basically gave him, the coldest reality nut check and was like, oh, you think you're untouchable, right? And soon moved his show, and then just no more show, not getting picked up for a fourth season. So he talks about that and how he was like, damn, like I wish, I did not handle that well. I was being very, very, like, I was being very, I was being stupid, essentially. My man has talked about some of the darkest things. He talks about the suicide of his mom, of his sister, the abuse suffered at his of his alcoholic father, the craziness of his divorce. Just, he was very good at taking his pain and everything he was doing and making people laugh at it because of basically his like style of comedy is very one-man showish. It's not just straight up just like standing at a microphone, this is that. He's very animated. There's like little effects going into his show, and it reads like a one-man show. It's not, there's, because for one, there's like almost like a through storyline, and I know he's not the first comedian to do it, but he really integrated that into his set. So it's not like just a series of jokes at varying length. It's a whole thing, like pretty much like you would see like a one-man show, like a big monologue piece, right? And he just evolved. And he's always had this sort of biting awareness and an empathy towards things that were not essentially his experience. And the reason I'm hypothesizing right now, but one of my favorite jokes of his, actually, and it was something that I wanted to integrate into my own self, actually, and my own work, especially when it came to embracing the fact that, like, I really just dig on comedy. I love what comedy can do for people. He's essentially, the joke is he's talking about the sort of drug epidemic that happened for a while, and not like the hard drugs, but like people using like, when people were getting addicted to like antidepressants and these certain opioids that are supposed to help like your mental faculties. And he wasn't really about that. The whole joke is kind of framed like he's like, I'm not like, that's not the way, because if that would have happened like it did with my mom, it would have taken away the things that make you feel human, because his mom, being like a bipolar schizophrenic, had these big extremes, and it's like the pills just, sometimes it made it worse, sometimes they helped. It's a whole mess, right? It's a mess. But he goes to this whole thing, he's like I had this very, very mentally unstable mother, this crazy relationship with my father, a divorce that was like $2 million out, and putting out my kids, my sister, a brilliant sister who killed, unfortunately ended her own life. And man, if anybody should be required by law to be on like an antidepressant, and he points to himself and he's like, and he says, instead, I chose to be an antidepressant, and you can take me with alcohol. It is a brilliant sentiment from, in my opinion, a very brilliant man. And after his divorce, I'm so happy, Mr. Chris Titus, if you ever see this, my friend, I am so happy you found your ice cream truck in the form of the beautiful Mama Ray, Rachel Bradley, his new wife. a lovely boss woman in her own right, who is also dipped into stand-up comedy. And I gotta say, Mama's pretty freaking fierce when it comes to her comedy. Mama Rachel Bradley is a fierce force to not be reckoned with, or to be reckoned with. Do you reckon with the force? Like, if you don't want to reckon with, like, is it too much to reckon if it's a force? Put it in the chat to help me out. I don't know. I'm so happy he found his ice cream truck. He found his new wife, and they've been, lovely ever since. It's stuff like that that kind of like is inspiring. It's inspiring as a comedian, as someone who enjoys comedy. And like, it's beautiful to see an evolution of somebody, it's really, really beautiful to see someone grow in the craft, much like comedy itself. As we stated earlier in the thing, comedy and all art forms evolve with the times and the civilization, and or rather they should. And I'm sure there's always pushback, right? Where I really think Titus is completely underrated is, for one, he said he's never apologized for a joke, ever, right? Except one. And it was during a podcast. I think it was during a podcast, and he was talking because he kind of made a pretty hardcore joke about Lady Gaga. And then at one time during Lady Gaga, it was after one of the awards, and Lady Gaga had a moment with Liza Minnelli where she's being just super sweet, trying to help her because Liza Minnelli's coming up in age, and it was just a very touching moment from a woman who's just getting older. This legend is getting older, and so Lady Gaga was helping her, and he was like, "Damn, I gotta say, not only has she proven me wrong with her artistic talent, but the fact that she did that." The fact that she was helping her and just so sweet. He's like, man, I take that joke back. The scathing thing that I said about her in this special. Yeah. And I was like, hey, all right, man, good on you. And then my man has a whole segment where at one point he was giving, I think it was millennials. He was in one part of his show. He was giving millennials all kinds of shit for being the trophy kids. And just being yeah, you guys just goofy with your trophies. Everybody get that trophy. Blah, blah, blah. He that's not the type of upbringing that he had. Hell, that's not even the type. He's Titus is roughly just a little, maybe a little under 20 years older than me, and that wasn't even the upbringing that I had or that my generation had. Nope, we weren't. Everybody gets a trophy generation. That was on the way out. But then in his latest special, I think it's Zero Side Effects, he has a whole segment again where he apologizes to millennials. And he's like, you had to deal with the pandemic. You had to deal with the recession, the housing crisis, the weird things that happen economically even before, the social media. And he's like, enjoy your trophies, friends. I can't deny you the crap that you've had to deal with. Very specific to your, this very unique challenge that we've had. Evolution in a beautiful, beautiful scale from a comedian. I love that. And that's where I really have to wonder about something that Mama Anna brought up, or that everybody is, offended. Which is very true. But see, while I'm on the topic of Titus, like, when you're that good, any comedian, right? Any, and we're talking specifically about stand-up for right now because he's essentially a stand-up comedian, but he's done movies, and obviously his TV show, and he even got a kind of he even did some television later on in life, and does like sketch comedy with his lady and his production company and stuff like that. But this is someone who does take dark parts of both his personal life but also in the world and makes them funny. At the very least, he makes it thoughtful. It's the thoughtful haha. It's this. Ready? Are you ready for it? I'm gonna show it to you. Ready? It's the What does that mean? Oh, a little bit more comedic nuance. Ready? Do I laugh at Christopher Titus as much as, say, Brian Regan or Jim Gaffigan or maybe at like one time like Gabriel Iglesias? Fluffy. Honestly, if we're talking about just like the laughs that are just kind of completely unregulated and just like that childish, that lovely, free and open mentality of childish laughter. No, I don't laugh at Titus, or excuse me, I don't laugh at Titus. I don't laugh with Titus like that. Because like Brian Regan and Jim Gaffigan, Fluffy, who else? Like back in the day, like Pablo Francisco, it was their comedy isn't necessarily dark. It's not, surface is not the word. It's light. That's probably a good way to put it. And it's not even shade. I'm not even saying that as in just like to gatekeep some kind of comedic hierarchy of things that are better, or no. Just like everything, I've talked about it on different parts of this and on different episodes of my stream, friends. Like it's a diet. It is a different kind of nutrition, and just like everything else, whether it comes to books, television, movies, your stand-up comedy, what you actually literally ingest, like you eat, but like your thing is a sort of nutrition. It's diet. And sometimes, you know, people just love having the light comedy. Something like Jim Gaffigan, who just goes off about Hot Pockets and just like he always makes jokes about how fat he is. But also not anymore, man. Like, but as of this taping, he's got a special coming out. And man's lost a lot of weight. But yeah, it's just famous for like Hot Pockets, you know, diarrhea pocket. Mama. She says, what about Paul Rodriguez? I honestly wasn't all that familiar with Paul Rodriguez growing up. I remember him more for movies than his stand-up. I didn't really kind of go into Paul Rodriguez until later when I was like, you know, looking into different things. But I remember he used to do a lot of shows with like Robin Williams and a few others. I think he did like they did the like a mashup with like Stephen Wright. Robin Williams, Paul Rodriguez, but I know like Paul Rodriguez is a player, man. He's one of the legends. He's one of the greats. But honestly, like as far as for like some of the Latino ones, the big one I remember growing up when it came out was George Lopez. George Lopez was the one who blew up when I was, I think probably, you know, just coming into high school. But yeah, I honestly knew Paul Rodriguez more for his movies than his stand-up. And I also remember, I think he hosted the Oscars one year, and I remember he made a joke about he was making a joke to Steven Spielberg. He's like, maybe next time you can he's like, you can make a movie called Saving Private Chavez. Like, I remember that, like back in the day. But lighter comedy where it's not something that's gonna, it's because it's usually inward, or like with Brian Regan's case, he's so cartoonish and animated that there's no real margin of offense. Like, there could be, because the world is full of people, but like the margin of offense is much smaller because it's very just light subject matter, intrinsic, maybe more like self-deprecating comedy and stuff like that, and personal. Whereas Titus's comedy is personal, but it's dealing with very dark, heavy subject matter that is not as like, it's not as accessible because it bites a little harder. And here's the thing, I love them both. I love them both. And it's like, why can't people do that as well? John Leguizamo? Is that how you mean, Steph? John Leguizamo? Do you mean John Leguizamo? Lighter comedy, Angela Johnson? I'm actually not familiar with Angela Johnson. Oh, another one. Like, I remember I saw him live with my sister, and I've just seen, like, Joe Coy. He has a lot of bits about his mom. And he usually comes from like, like a thing of like, oh my God, this is insane. He's like, you guys are insane. Like, he's like, you people in Hawaii. He's like, you're so beautiful. And he's like, you have nine vowels. You have 90 vowels in one word. Yeah, because he went to Hawaii, and it's like, it's great. I was cracking up for his joke. But it really is, my friend. It's like my lovely friends out there, my people. Like, it's a diet, and like the reason I bring up Titus is because I really want to promote people to like know him, but also I want people to kind of like, I think he's one of many, trust me, there are many, I'm using him as an example, but like there's one of many who like understand the power of comedy. Let me just take a look. Here's the thing. The reason I give this up for Titus, this video right here, comedians are new philosophers, and it's like, it was very, very kind of informative, a very informative video. And they have a lot of things where they kind of they do a little bit of examination of comedy, both on the conservative side and then on the liberal side, and like what's going on in the landscape of comedy, and like what it means for like the people really kind of crazy thinkers to go into analyzing what comedy means to a society. And oh no, what happened? What is a lightsaber comedy? She's funny. I will check her out. Maybe I'll even look her up sometime in the thing. And spoilers for this video right here, but like if I'm not mistaken, I saw the video a while back, but they sort of landed on like yes and no, because comedy isn't itself a type of philosophy. it's kind of a thing that I think it integrates aspects of philosophy that can, you know, help shape it into what it's going to be per that particular comedian. You know, whether you'd be stand up or, you know, if you're a writer or, you know, a performer, you know, kind of something like that. But here's where I think the thing about the the comedians being new philosophers is that someone who takes that very seriously in the aspect of not only are they trying to really do well with their writing and their presence and their point of view and their impact in the world of entertainment and comedy and by extension society. When you take it that serious, somebody like Christopher Titus does, and also somebody maybe like Bo Burnham, maybe somebody like Dimitri Martin, someone like Maria Bamford. Who else? So many. I'm just like, guys, like this the brains. I really could. Like I know it's everywhere. I know I'm going everywhere, but I really can. I really tried my best. I took notes. Where are my notes? Oh my god, my notes. Look at all these notes. I took them and trying to like break them down and keep it as concise as I could for everything. Angela Johnson is how you spell her name. Oh yes, okay. She was also in the movie Our Family Wedding with America Ferrera. Ooh, okay. Is she the one? I think Mama is real famous for she impersonates like her is Mama the one she's real famous for impersonating like her Vietnamese the women who like do her nails, get her all beautiful, like these skilled ass women who do her nails and stuff, and she does like the accent like, pitch perfectly, like Anna Kendrick pitch perfect. Yeah. So there is a specific responsibility for people to do that, but there's also specific responsibility of how you take that craft and understand what it does for the society that you're living in, right? And it's tough. And I think that's why it's so okay, cool. Yeah, I think I've seen one. I think I saw one of her specials with my sisters. Actually, I think I saw them with you and my sister Lori. Well, with all my sisters. I think all of us were there. And yeah, she is funny. But like where I give someone like Titus credence is not only did he evolve and understand where he might have made mistakes, that's something that the greats do. Honestly, I think that like here's a picture of doing one thing, but like there's a picture of Norm Macdonald right there. I don't know if you can see right there. He's right next to Chappelle and Carlin. I think there's a story where he redacted, you know, he was writing jokes about trans people and he redacted them from his set. I think he might have been putting them up, and it was just I'm sure they were playing well, but he said like I took him out of my special because I don't want to give fuel. Effectively, what he said was, I'm not trying to write these trans jokes because I don't want, like, sure, they might be funny, but I don't want somebody to take this and all of a sudden there's a trans person out there who gets beat up because of the influence that my joke might have on that person. And it's like, hey, great. There's some like awareness there. And I think that's where I give someone like Titus and a good amount of others. It's like this like awesome squad essentially of the top tier comedians who just really get it. They understand the power of one words, but also the power of the nature of comedy. And I think that's where someone like Christopher Titus bridges a gap of like philosophy, especially when he's doing something like that. The philosophy being like some people get their whole sculpted opinions based off of a comic. Like there's whole news outlets of like satirical news of whatever type of whatever side you're on. There's satirical news outlets that do, and people will get their news from those outlets and those satirists and the comedians and stuff more than actual, like journalistic news where they're just trying to report on something. Hell, some of my best schooling that I can remember was from a teacher that I had in 7th grade who was funny as fuck. And I loved listening to him, and math was never easier to me. Because he would do funny jokes and funny voices and funny things to have it sink in. So it's like, so maybe they're not necessarily our philosophers, but man, they're to many people in the world, these comedians are our reverends, man. They're our preachers. They preach to us in a way, and they can enforce a belief. They can challenge a belief. You know what they should do. They can enforce a belief and then actually like solidify a belief, and then really kind of like help you, chisel out your own belief, whether it's original thinking or not. But like it's all there, man. It's all there for like people to grab onto, and it's accessible, especially in the realm of comedy. That's what good comedy can do. Is it's like it's reachable when it's there. And by the way, wow, now that I just saw this right here, I don't know if you guys can see this. I picked a hell of a day to do this stream about something, with woke comedy and shit like that, because goddamn it is on the freaking the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. Like, damn, that's freaking on me. Another reason Titus is funny is because the last time we saw him was a couple months ago during the Netflix. Or is it the Netflix is funny? Netflix is a jokes day. The Netflix is a joke festival, and other comedians are playing in the Hollywood Bowl just right down the street. And my man Titus was in this brand new open little jazz, this barely open jazz thing. This little jazz club that's on a good day seats like 50 people, and there was literally about 12 of us in the audience. My man has sold out arenas and theaters for so long, and him and his lovely wife were playing to a theater of us 12, and he just riffed on that every once in a while. They both did, and it was great. It was fun. It was funny. It was like just having like our own little intimate space, because they were killing it, man. And I gotta say, that if anybody out there who has ever done stand-up, if there's anybody out there who sees this and you've done stand-up, you know how hard it is to get a small room to laugh. Like, if you have like a bunch of people and there's like just the contagion laughter, that's easy. But when you have like anywhere from 5 to 12 people, and some people are feeling you, some people not real, like that's tough. Trust me, that's tough. The very first time I ever did stand-up comedy out in the real world, in an open mic set, was in a small little bar / restaurant, and the only other people I had listening to me were other comedians. I didn't know that I didn't know at that time that people, you could talk up there and I didn't know that people just couldn't laugh. I didn't know that, so I just kind of kept going and didn't know what else to do. But yeah. Also, thank you about the comment about the background. Maybe it works. Maybe I can somehow integrate that. Because maybe it works with the clown, but also I do look like I'm kind of in this weird padded room. Because maybe I have lost my mind, and this is what my padded room looks like. Blue lit, with everything looking sort of like the sky, because that's where my head is. Anyway, Neil. Trying to think of this particular one. Let's see, because it kind of enforces what I kind of feel about that. This is one of my another favorite guy coming up. He's been in the game for a good while, but I think he's really popped off recently. This guy name is Neil Brennan. Very funny. I love his stuff. Just want to see if I could find a specific joke of his. I know things got real quiet, but it's okay, friends. Just help me scroll. Help me scroll. And everybody likes a little bit of scroll. And in the MCU, you have the changing scrolls. Testing alcohol for safety. No, that's not it. I will find this. I'm sure he has just like a little thing about it. If I type in, this is gonna seem a little weird. Man, sure. I didn't think I was gonna bring up Neil Brennan. That's why I didn't have him ready, friends. And all these little tabs that you see on top of my thing, I didn't know if I was gonna. Let me just double check. I don't know. I don't want to like do the wrong one. Damn it. Okay. So I guess I can just do the goofy ass thing that I do anyway. And explain a joke that's not mine. Because that's how desperate I am. Gathering everything about a subject is the correct way to do it. Is my lovely sister talking about like the way to approach comedy and everything like that? Because if that's, yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right. Stephanie T says the Kookaburra Lounge. Yeah, that's where we were. The Kookaburra Lounge. Great. That was a blast. They had a blast. And just again, Titus, frickin' Titus, and Mama Ray's talking about her mom getting cancer. They made cancer and all the craziness going in with like domestic. It was just like, that's skill, friends. I don't even know how to touch my childhood trauma and for comedic effect. I don't even know if I know how to do that. I'll try one day maybe, but damn, he's so good at it. My man Titus is so good at it. Oh my God! Do it. Physical comedy. That makes me laugh every time.
Don't blame me.
The amount of air that my boy Tommy gets. Oh boy. So I know that was a freaking tangent. So my man Neil Brennan. He has a joke essentially talking about he was talking about like, you know, I think he's talking about how he hangs around with like a lot of black people, and you know they always clown on him and stuff and everything. He's like, but I always come back, you know, he's a very clever dude, he's been a comedy writer for a long time, but he's just like, you know, they come back, he's like, hey, he clowns on him, he's like, hey, white boy, he's like, you ain't got no rhythm. And he's like, haha, what do I need rhythm when I own the record label? And he's doing this and everybody starts laughing, right? Everybody laughs because that's a good, you know, it's a comeback. And he goes, he's like, now, he's like, that joke would kill at a Klan rally. And he goes on to explain, he's like, that's not really, so like, that's why, like, I don't do those things, right? Like, that's why that's not how I'm choosing to wield this sword. And that's exactly what comedians like himself and my man Titus are doing for the sake of just, I would say at the very least, not making things worse. You know, not making things worse. Jerry Stemi Camacho says, I never understood why people just don't turn things off. If you don't like a certain comedian because of content or whatever, don't watch them. Turn it off. Why do they have to attack people? So one thing, if I'm being completely honest, my friends, is most people, for whatever reason, right now think that like all this business with stand-up comedy, you know, where'd I go? Okay, where's the stand-up comedy? Where's the stand-up comedy? All this business with stand-up comedy is like a new thing of everything that comes with like the repercussions. Why? Did y'all forget that like back in the day, people used to get arrested for cursing on like if you went up there and you went on Johnny Carson and you cursed? Oh, god damn. If you talked about penises and vaginas, how dare you? That's against Jesus didn't have a penis. It's not a new thing to get offended over comedy because of like crazy obscene things. That is so not a new thing. Back in the day, like I'm pretty sure your court jester or anybody else in that, when you were in a society ruled by like a, you know, like the royal class of any kind, you weren't safe. And usually in that time you were laughed at because you represented an other. You represented something that was symbolic of something less than you were, so you were able to point and laugh at a thing, the person that was usually represented something that you were like, oh, that's less than. I can laugh at. I can ridicule. It is not a new thing for the jesters of our time, the satirists of our time, any comedian. Like, that's, from what I understand, that has been going on for the longest time. Our, you know, that type of thing has pretty much shaped it's almost par for the course if you were going to be in comedy in the past, you know, 70 years, you know, in Western society, here in America even, like, you were going to get pushback from all, just so many just walks of life. And in our time, like, God forbid you were a person of color saying some crazy things about anything, even if you were funny to a specific demographic, there might have been another demographic that was going to threaten your life. And I know that happens now. Like, yeah. So let's put that to bed right now. Like, that is not a new thing, kids out there. For people, like, the landscape of people being like, this whole cancel culture thing, it's just a new way of saying you were getting, you know, you were getting shit for saying something that either you should have or you shouldn't have, anything like that. So that's not a new thing. People have been getting offended since the dawn of time. I'm pretty sure, like, if they were cavemen and Thunk was like, ha ha ha, hey Clunk, me no like your hair look like Dead Sabertooth. And Thunk was like, you asshole, and then he hit him with his club, like, you asshole, Thunk. And the Thunk don't like Clunk, you make fun of Clunk's hair, how dare you, this male pattern baldness. He beat the shit out of him with his club, and then he punched a woolly mammoth because he was angry that day, and the mammoth was like, I didn't do anything, what are you hitting me for? But, like, that's not subject to, like, it's a thing, like, right now that I will say, any criticism toward one end of the spectrum, whether you're more like right or left leaning, more conservative or liberal or anything like that, from what I hear tell, friends, best of my current knowledge and the knowledge of this particular platform, and I gotta say, this whole thing, spoilers, my expertise comes in just what experiences I've had with comedy and performing and entertainment and everything like that. But this is all the best of my current knowledge. If you got more historical examples or just different things, throw them in the chats or throw them in the comments later. That's fine. I'm just giving you my best of my current knowledge to try and open the window for your mind to understand something different, okay? Now I suck out the blood of a stupid and I inject more thoughtful things in hopefully a funnier way. I don't know why my Dracula turned into a weird Italian man. But yeah, offense has been going on for so long, and it doesn't discriminate, and it's not just for one side of a political spectrum or another, or an ideological spectrum or another. Everybody has gotten it. Censorship has been a thing for, hell, even as long as I can remember. And then exactly what Jerry Stephanie Camacho said, he's like, I never understood why people don't just, like, turn things off. What's up with that, folks? What's up with that? I mean, I understand. I understand that because of the things that we can laugh about or not laugh about, you know, what this thing is, what this woke thing is, and what it means for society and all that stuff. What the hell are Kevin and Janelle doing in that water? You know damn well that water is not safe to swim in. Are they in Europe? I don't know where they are. Is that safe to swim in? That's not even her husband. She met him in the airport when she arrived. Oh, drama when she comes back home. Anyway, this whole business is like exactly what she said. Why does it take like such heavy retaliation? And this is speaking from somebody, y'all, I for the longest time was studying to be an actor, still am, which comes with a heavy amount of empathy. The empathy muscle has to be continuously worked. And I understand why just with any the slightest move from one thing to another could have changed my whole ideology. Just the slightest trajectory change. It could have been a different moment, and just you change your mentality, you change your beliefs because you're going on a different path. But I am completely aware of the power that words have, and I'm completely aware what humans do with all things beautiful. We have the most immaculate skill to fuck up beautiful things. It's true. We fuck up the most beautiful things. We can fuck up comedy. We weaponize things like it brings us to orgasm. Like, it's crazy. We can take just the most things that are supposed to like unite and strengthen us and broaden our horizons and all these things, and man, we can use it as a weapon that we can just thrash and flail around, and who cares who it hurts as long as the people who think what I think do this thing, right? Like, and comedy is such like it's not even an easy weapon to wield, especially if you're like the creator of that weapon, you know, the people who really take this type of craft seriously. But it's just like anything, it's anybody can take that weapon. Not even like a sword. Let's pretend it's a gun. We're Americans, we love guns, don't we? We love our guns, don't we? These comedians beautifully craft with like the right dimensions and mathematical precision, with the perfect trigger timing, a clip that slides in with an extended thing, houses the clips and the barrel and the bullet. It's just perfectly crafted. But then it goes out into the market and anybody can use it. That's kind of the sad thing that we got going on with this kind of stuff, friends, is we take it, we don't turn it off. Like Jerry Stephanie Camacho had said, we don't turn it off. You can either get mad about it, you use it in the wrong way, you're irresponsible with something as important as comedy. Like, it's kind of sad. It's actually kind of sad how that like just goes and perpetuates itself. Yes, it's a water gun, I guess. Yeah, and maybe it is a more apt, metaphor. It's a water gun filled with acid. Like, dang. And it just I always wanted to know I guess why it's so hard for people to understand that words, you know, they can say like 6 stones, words can never hurt me. First of all, that's bullshit. Because if that's how you feel, you've just never been told the right words. Also, especially, is it's not the words themselves that hurt you. It's like what can hurt you is what those words do to infect everything around you. That shit can hurt you a lot. So honestly, everybody out there in internet land, in social media land, in electronic, in this worldwide web space, I blame so much stuff on you. I ain't that loyal to any particular ideology. I grew up in a household where, like, yes, you love each other, but it's so easy to point out all the freaking crazy insecurities and negatives about anything. Therefore, like it's very easy for me to pick apart anything. Plus, as a clown, I'm not all that invested in humanity because, you know, we tend to see how goofy we all are. I think that's why I like comedy, because a little throwback to before with Alan Moore, the comedian is just out there is like, man, this is all just one big fucking joke. That's why I do what I want. And I guess in the cosmic scale of things, yeah, this whole thing, everything we're doing on this tiny little blue and brown ball, hey, it's a joke. It doesn't really mean much. But since we're microcosming here, microcosmic, yes, that's a good way to put that, huh? We're a little bit of microcosmic in this universe, right? All of us on this little planet. It's like, you know, it's like these things echo in the world, you know? These things echo in our spirits and in our minds. And when you got something that incites the humor response in your spirit and in your brain to laugh, that can almost be just as scathing, if not more, than straight up apathy or ignorance, or sometimes even maliciousness. Because, like, maliciousness, yeah, there's like an evil to that of somebody reveling and getting this very dour and serious satisfaction from your pain. But if somebody's getting that uproarious joy exemplified, and they're making the same sound that a baby makes when you go like "coochie coochie coo" at your pain, yeah, that hurts. Like, that hurts, my friends. Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't that hurt? I don't know. I've been on both sides of that. I've been laughed at, and I have laughed at, and I've laughed with. I ain't proud of the former, And depending on what we were laughing with, I might not even be proud of that too. It's evolution. I don't even know why we're so like upset by it, you know? See, there are I typed in this, right? It's kind of getting ready for the stream here today. And a lot of this, I gotta say, my friends, a lot of this is clickbaity. You know, people being triggered, different things that like make people laugh and everything like that. Some of it going on, you know, people on the far right, some of it going people on the left, some of it being center, you know. And it's like it just clashes. It makes everyone clash. And it's just so weird, man. One of the most famous people, like actually, like, and I threw him up here. One of the most famous people who was like, I don't even know, maybe he's a comedian, still sure, but he's mostly a podcaster and a UFC commentator. Like Mr. Rogan, right here. Mr. Joe Rogan. Like, if he still has the, you know, if he still kind of really leans into the title of comedian, which, you know, he, you know, some would argue and say like, yeah, he's still a, you know, he's still a comedian. He still does comedy, but I know he took like a hiatus, something like a 6-year hiatus, and then his new special came out that he was working on for a while. But he's just a busy, and basically what my man does mostly, he just podcasts a lot and does the commentary for UFC. Like that's what he did for a while. If you don't know anything about Joe Rogan, that's how he basically he did some television when he was much younger, but basically he was a stand-up comedian. That's where he kind of really made his metal. Then he started a podcast with his homies, fellow comedians, and they just kind of talk shit while they were high and everything. Like, as much as people might say like, well, you know, it's just jokes or we're just comedians, don't listen to us. I mean, hey, all you in the public, that's the one time you should probably listen to them. As in, don't listen to them. And don't get me wrong, even my man Titus over here, he's got his own podcast. Right here. It's the Armageddon Update. Not as big as Joe Rogan's. I don't think there's too many podcasters out there who are as big as Joe Rogan and with his reach. Like, it's so weird. Because I gotta say, like, so something going on with like Joe, Mr. Joe Rogan, is I used to listen to him a lot. And it was fine because there's something about, I'm not saying he's even like the most emblematic of this, but there's something about the way a comedian approaches a conversation with something that they might not understand at the forefront of a conversation, or talking to a politician, or talking to, you know, a scientist or anything like that. But there's something about the way a comedian's brain works. Somebody who's into satire and parody and is looking for the joke, that lends itself as like a perfect bridge to the general public. He was pretty darn good at that at one point. Maybe he still is. I haven't listened to him in a while. Honestly, I kind of fell off with him, and I wouldn't even say necessarily because I fully bought into like kind of the dumb things he might have been doing. Like I know he had a bunch of controversy with the vaccines and who he platforms and stuff like that. I just kind of fell off. And if I do, I usually listen to like when he's talking to athletes, and it's usually like athletes that I know. And usually the conversation doesn't get too like political charged or anything like that. It's just an athlete talking about, you know, their experiences, and sometimes when he talks like to other comedians, that's usually when I listen to him. But there's something about the fact that Joe being like an everyman that makes it easy for people who are like what they would consider, and I don't necessarily even believe this particular vernacular, but they consider themselves on the same mental level, like the same intelligence level. So a concept is something that's heavily scientific, of something that's just fascinating, whether it be, you know, whether it would be biological, biological sex and what it, you know, what it means, or physics or astronomy or hunting or the stuff in the Middle East, the border crisis, like he's had a pretty interesting amount of people. But there's something about how comedians approach certain things that are just, I think, in my opinion, it's just like, it's easier to go into that with a comedian, because they might come at it as open as anybody, right? And the fact that they can probably use what they learn and make a joke. And that's tough. Especially if the joke is solid, because it takes a certain amount of understanding. And it takes a certain amount of empathy to wrap your head around a joke. It's like, it's crazy, right? So he is kind of like the example of like, nah, people take the comedians and these people with this type of mode of speaking and there's these type of things, like comedians have some of the most popular podcasts and interview slots on the planet. Honestly, some of my favorite podcasts and things to listen to are comedians talking about life, talking about career stuff, talking about mental health. You know, some of them broaching into, you know, kind of diving deep into societal issues, things like that. I think it's because, you know, in a weird way, comedians and certain types of entertainers have pretty strong and hardcore bullshit detectors that you can't necessarily get from, say, like a journalist. I mean, you should, and I know that's not completely true for all. I know some journalists are like hardcore. They don't let. I'm sure there's some that, you know, but they don't. You know, they get. From what I hear, like sometimes they get threatened. They get their lives threatened, or they get bribed. It's just like, it's tough, and like, it's weird to think that I used to really fucks with Joe Rogan and a few choice others, but mainly it was him. But it wasn't anything, you know, if we're talking about certain things that I would listen to with him, it wasn't anything that I couldn't easily get pulled away from. I remember my friends talking about me. He's like, I used to think he was cool and like an interesting dude, and I still kind of get behind that. Whether he's cool or not, I don't know. But from what I hear tell, at the very least, he's respectful to everybody. He platforms a lot of people, whether you agree with them or not. And you know, just an interesting dude. Is like just how he lives his life, the stuff he likes to do, all the weed he smokes. Like, hey, it's cool. Like, weed. Who doesn't love weed? Apparently, it should be like it is a cure all that apparently we're just all too afraid to use at any given point. But like, I just remember thinking, this can't be that bad, right? Like, it's cool. And right now, there's a whole thing going on with Joe about, especially after the results of the election that just happened, the left needs their version of Joe Rogan because they think he's like far right, which I'm not necessarily. Anybody out there, like, let me know. It's not an argue. I don't argue the heavy things. I don't debate heavy things. I cooperate the heavy things. Like, so let me know about some of some things. But like, from what I've seen, he's never been like hard right. And I mean, he does kind of teeter. It depends on who he's talking to. But I have seen him push back on people who were a little bit more like on the far right side. I'm not sure how many like left people. I know like one of the big people who are what you might consider like on the left or more liberal or progressive, I guess like Bernie Sanders was on his show. But they're saying that like the left, the people who are on the left progressive side of politics and ideology need their version of Joe Rogan, somebody with that big of a reach. And like, yeah, sure, it could have, you know, people were saying like it could have been Jon Stewart. Maybe like John Oliver, a lot of Johns, you know, John Hanks, John Cleese, John DiMaggio, John Wick. John Wick should be the progressive left's version of Joe Rogan. Can you imagine that? Just Keanu Reeves, just like, okay, so yeah, we're talking about critical race theory. Go ahead and tell me about critical race theory. And then he has like a college professor or like somebody doing like their PhD doctorate on like, you know, the societal implications of critical race theory. Just like, yeah. Do dogs die during critical race theory? He's like, absolutely not. He's like, good. Actually, I don't think John would be like, probably wouldn't talk. He just let the other person talk and just be like, That's all John would do. He's a very silent guy. He doesn't talk much. The John Wick podcast. The John Wick podcast. I don't even know. He would just talk about. I don't even know what John would talk about. He's just. He makes you think by not saying anything. I think that's what his podcast would be. Just kind of forces you to talk to yourself and get yourself out of a funk. I bet that it would blow up. 50,000 subscribers easily in the first hour. But I think I wanted to talk about him and pull him up because I just wasn't sure, my friends. Like, I wasn't sure about everything going on with this. And I wanted to, you know, like, I wanted to be sure that this is the kind of reach that is within someone's power. And he has a lot of reach and he has a lot of power and influence. Like, he really does. And okay. Go here. Oh my goodness, this is like, it's so dark. It's so dark. That's bright. See, I couldn't have my normal setup here, friends, because it's all crazy. But like, Lewis Black, I love you, sir. I had posed the question, like, why is comedy so dynamic? Why is it like why does it cause so much like dynamite reactions, reactionary things? Not even like a responsible thing. Like response, there's some thought, and it's like, hey, there's some measurement to this, and like when I'm really contemplating and considering all of the outcomes of this particular thing. No, like a reaction is very cool, and then while it's awesome when Goku does it in Ultra Instinct, it's not so cool when you're doing it like, you know, when you just blow up at a certain thing of, you know, a comedian saying something or anything like that. Like, why is it so volatile, right? Why do some comedians get away with it and why don't others? Honestly, friends, like my biggest hypothesis toward that I think every comedian and anybody who like is a fan of comedy, and if you're trying to gain a deeper understanding of like the divisiveness that comes with people and their sentiments, whether you're on the far right or the far left of anything, the reason why comedy is so volatile and why comedians get so much shit and why it's not so easy to get away with the jokes that might have worked 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, has to do with intention. What do I mean by that? Real quick. What do I mean by intention? Click on enjoy sex like you used to. Jesus, sis. What do I mean by intention? There's a quote here. Oh, sorry. Typed it in wrong. Show it to y'all in 2 seconds. Right here. Go ahead and share this with you guys. Alley hoop. And the stand-up fundamentals right here. If people like you, then you have won 80% of the battle. I want to say that was actually attributed to Carson or maybe somebody else. I'm not sure. Well, that picture is there. I could be really fucking wrong, but I don't know. I don't know right now. How wrong am I? But intention. Intention is where are you coming from with your comedy? That's what that means. It's a real thing, my friends. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, say if you got like, you talk to any black person and you got somebody who got their N-word card, that's like an intention, right? It's cool. But if you got some random person, all of a sudden they throw out the N-word, maybe that's a bad example. But I just know, like, you gotta really earn, if you do it all. If you do it all. But that word has some power. And that word can get you killed, or at the very least get your ass beat. If you're not, if someone doesn't feel comfy with you using that. Another thing is like, let's take something less extreme. If you're like in your family, and I'm pretty sure this crosses all kinds of cultures, right? No matter what culture you are, you're making everybody, you know, everybody in their family, you kind of give your family shit, right? You can talk stuff about your family and everything like that, and you're coming at it from a place of like love. Now, if somebody else from the outside or somebody that you're not cool with comes in and starts making fun of your family, and you don't know what their intentions are when it comes to making fun of your family, all of a sudden some defenses go up and fists start to clench, and all of a sudden there's some people are starting to get like their claws and their fangs out because they're like, what are you talking about? Right? That's the same thing that a comedian has to go through when it comes to intention. When it comes to letting the audience like absorb you. Like, in a weird way, like, can an audience like accept you? Because if you're a white comedian, you go up there, start telling black jokes, like, first off, like, yeah, you know, and starting black jokes in front of a black audience, or a white comedian going in front of like a bunch of Latinos and telling Latino jokes, or a Latino going in there and telling jokes to white folk or black folk, like all cross cultures, or like a cis, you know, a cis woman making jokes about like the queer community, like especially like, and if you want to go crazy, like the black queer community or the brown queer community or the trans, like it's there's all kinds of ways, but like do people sense that you are actually making jokes, that, you know, you're taking, you know, you're poking fun at certain things that you notice about communities that aren't necessarily your own, but they're well observed and they're well thought out and everything, and they're well written. But if your intention is to purposefully make these people feel inferior or less than, you're not going to get accepted. And I think that's where people, like other comedians, like don't get it. Like the big one right now is the guy who was at the Republican National Convention, the guy Tony Hinchcliffe. He made that joke about Puerto Rico, about being like just a big old heap of trash. A lot of people are saying like, well, what he does is insult comedy. That's what he does. Like basically he holds a thing where like he lets people go up there and do a minute in his thing called like Kill Tony or something. He lets people go up there and a comedian will just go up there for a minute or two or something like that. they tell their jokes quick, and then the panel of comedians or artists or something like that, they'll just sit there and they usually rag on each other and rag on the comedian and stuff. Like that's the kind of comedy he does. Is like biting insult, like crowd work or something like that. I don't know if he does like written material or anything like that. I think affectionately, like just one of his joke was like, oh yeah, he's like, I hear there's a big floating pile of garbage somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Like that was kind of basically the joke. Misquoting, put it in shoot in the comments or whatever. It's like just that. Now he said that at the Republican, like one of the, I don't know if it's the Republican, not the Republican National Convention. I know I said that earlier, but he said that at the like a rally, like a Trump rally in New York City, New York. At a political thing. First off, probably not the best place to just do that. And it got a lot of backlash because, like, I don't know, me personally, like, I guess the joke was, I don't even know if it was like a good joke. Like, all right, like you're talking shit. I guess you're talking shit. My mama brought up Don Rickles prior. Could Don Rickles have gotten away with that joke? I almost guarantee it. You know why? Because Don Rickles, again, intention. From what I understand, someone like Don Rickles did not necessarily make fun of you if he didn't know you, like you, or at the very least understand you. He didn't touch you like that. He was a fearless guy from what, he'd make fun of the mafia, he'd make fun of presidents, he'd make fun of anybody. But like, you always had a sense when he performed, and maybe, again, let me know, but from best of my current knowledge is, you always had a sense that he was coming at you from a place of love because this is what he was showing you. His appreciation of you and what you did, and even if it wasn't, maybe if he was like, what the hell is that? What the hell are you doing? I don't know what that is. So he's like, what do you want, a cookie? What is this? He's like, what do you think? What do you, oh, jeez. Oh, Christ. Like, if he was doing something like that, you always felt that it was at least coming from some place of love. And like, I love that that's what, that is a truth of what that means. This is why when I played y'all that clip earlier of Titus talking about trans people, the reason I think that works is because I don't know if personally maybe he's got like just, man, he actually hates trans people, or he really, like, he only gives them so much leverage. Like, it's a weird thing. Like, it's like for people to be just so like weirded out by this stuff, but like, it's really not. If you just like just in my opinion, it's just like, it's not that anything of anything. It's just, it's something that exists. And these people, anyway, I never felt that he was, even his thing about like the mother who gave him crap because like their son had feelings about his trans joke. He wasn't making fun of like the fact that the child was trans. He was making fun of like the critique about his joke and responding to what the mom had presented with like her argument toward what he was saying. But nowhere in that was it like, trans people ill. He has a whole thing talking about like his karate, his martial arts instructor, and he does an impression of his karate instructor, and it's like, oh, comedy boy. It's very like what you might think of, like, oh my god, is this a stereotypical? Oh my god, is Titus being stereotypical Asian? Like, no, he's doing an impression of his martial arts instructor, and it might be exaggerated, it might not be. I don't even know. I don't even know if you've ever seen his martial arts instructor, but nowhere in there did I think he's making fun of like his Asian karate, his martial arts. I don't know if it's karate. That's why I keep correcting myself. But like, I didn't think he was making fun of the fact that his martial arts instructor was Asian. He is imitating him, and in the joke, Titus is the butt of the joke. It's that. It's just like, that's what it is. Intention goes so hard, my friends, and it goes so long. It can take you very far. That's why I don't understand what people do. How it's been like the stand-up comedy world has been. It's its own divisive, because you basically now you're playing to your audience, and if you're trying to do other things, yeah, trust me, I understand like a hypersensitivity on people on certain sides, and also like the virtue signaling. That stuff is goofy to me. But also I also very much sense like malicious poison in some people's words, and very rudimentary surface level analysis going into crafting their jokes about marginalized people. It's dumb. It's dumb on both sides. And not even just in stand-up comedy. Here's a thing I wanted to show you guys. This is, funny enough, talking about Joe Rogan.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
This is Joe Rogan talking to Robert Downey Jr. Joe Rogan talking to Robert Downey Jr. of, could you make Tropic Thunder today? Okay?
Do you think that you could do Tropic Thunder today? Would that be possible?
Oh, you could do it. And again, like Eddie, I look back to me, that movie to me was a circle back to my dad's movie called Putney Swope, which I highly recommend anyone who hasn't seen to see.
I wonder if he's talking about Eddie Murphy.
Who takes over an ad agency in the 60s because everyone votes for him when the head of the company dies because they think no one else will.
Also,
and it's about what happens when...
just medium for a second. This is actually a very good interview. This is a good interview. Joe's talking to Robert Downey about things like his life and thing about like, Iron Man and stuff. And it's like, and his career. And it was like, it was fun. It was nice. It was nice to have like a long form conversation with Robert Downey Jr. I like Robert Downey Jr. I want to hear more from him. Wish he had a podcast or stuff.
Doing this thing. And, I think maybe Sean Penn had passed on it or something like that. Possibly wisely. And I thought, yeah, I'll do that, and I'll do that after Iron Man. And then I started thinking, this is a terrible idea. Wait a minute. And then I thought, well, hold on, dude. Get real here. Where is your heart? And my heart is, I get to be black for a summer in my mind. So there's something in it for me. The other thing is I get to hold up to nature the insane self-involved hypocrisy of artists and what they think they're allowed to do on occasion. Just my opinion. And also Ben, who is a masterful artist and director, probably the closest thing to a Charlie Chaplin that I've experienced in my lifetime. He writes, he directs, he acts. If you had seen him when he was directing this movie, you would have been like, I'm watching David Lean, I'm watching Chaplin, I'm watching Coppola. He knew exactly what the vision for this was. He executed it. It was impossible to not have it be an offensive nightmare of a movie. And 90% of my black friends are like, dude, that was great.
What about the other 10%?
I can't disagree with them, but I know where my heart was.
Yeah.
And I think that it's never an excuse to do something that is out of place and not of its time. But to me, it was just it was a blasting cap on. And by the way, I think White Chicks came out pretty soon after that. Yeah. And I was like, I love that. Yeah. I was like, that was great.
Yeah.
So, I'm putting in my 2 cents because that's probably all I'm worth in comparison to these two gentlemen. I just realized Stephanie Jerry Camacho said I had that card for a while. Like your N-word card. I mean, yep. With I can count two of my friends that I had the N-word card with. You sparingly. Usually it's because we were watching the Boondocks or something like that. But to put in my 2 cents to these two multi-millionaires, potential billionaires, for my man Robert Downey, and maybe even Rogan too. Like, damn. But like, one, could you make Tropic Thunder today? A lot of people on this thing said no, because the woke mob is gonna come after you if you do. And sure, maybe it was harassed when it came out. There's some people who had feelings about it when it came out, and it came out a long time ago. I think Tropic Thunder came out in what, 2012? Let me just 2008. Okay, so dang, no, even longer than I thought it was. It got backlash at that time as well. And I know some people, I know some people personally who didn't even find his performance or anything about the movie that funny. Like, of course you could make it now. Anything is going to possibly get just like, but people are using something from either like it's the woke mob or conservative on one side, anything like this and that. And it's ridiculous. Stop. And all of you people who listen to that shit and put that into your very being like it's a limb, chill, amputate that for a little bit and just like actually scope out, do some Uncle Iroh perspective shit on the landscape and add a rainbow, just like Sokka did with Master Piandao. Look at the thing for a couple seconds, draw it, and add a rainbow. Sokka, he's the man. But just like Robert Downey said, of course you could make that today because he knew where his heart was. And this is, again, my personal opinion. Never thought Robert Downey was trying to insult black people. My personal take on it. Never thought he was that. What he actually did, which is why he probably got a lot of accolades for it, is he's taking a giant shit on a hardcore method actor who decided to take the role of Lincoln Osiris, a black sergeant in Vietnam, because he wanted to bring something to the table. And the movie actually did a good job of like showing, aside from him being goofy as hell, taking on a black role that should have went to a black man. Like, he has like intelligence as far as for like his craft and acting, the dedication he has toward like what's going on in 1960s Vietnam. You know, there's that layer to him, except of his just non-self-awareness about being the dude, playing the dude disguised as another dude. Like, that's yeah, absolutely. I wasn't offended by that. If anything, is like, you could just, most people, the complaint that I heard most of the time was it's just not funny. They didn't think it was funny. And like, that's cool. Just like any other comedy thing, no matter how good, it's like, hey man, like, I don't know, I don't find Christopher Titus funny. Hey, that's cool. All right. Like, that's the extent of it. And now if we're extending it on to Ben Stiller, nowhere in there did I think Ben Stiller hated black people. Did I think he hated gays? If anything, I thought he was, again, taking a huge, lovely mirror colored shit on like the entertainment industry, and like self-effacing, self-effacing for the insecurities that actors and performers come with, and just again that lack of self-awareness and this heightened entitlement and self-importance and stuff like that. I never got the impression that Ben Stiller might have has something to say about the black community or anything like that in regards to Robert Downey Jr. Never thought that. I also think that my partner was telling me about a lovely little kind of a YouTube documentary. Somebody made a little YouTube documentary regarding that same question, but for Blazing Saddles, the Mel Brooks film, Blazing Saddles. So Gene Wilder and the other actor. Man, I haven't seen Blazing Saddles in so long. I think the actor who played the lead, I think he passed away. Cleavon Little. Yeah. Mel Brooks, Gene Wilder, Cleavon Little, like basically saying that apparently, I guess he's like, you could never make Blazing Saddles right now. Like, sure you could. When you have a good director like Mel Brooks and an awesome cast, and like again, a lovely the comedy is being taken care of. There's being care and thought, and there is a gentleness and this giving of attention and sharing of attention toward the comedy and the story and everything like that. Absolutely you could. But again, my people out there, you really think that just like outrage and all this stuff is some new thing. No, it's just that the only difference is now everybody's got a voice because they got a phone or they have access to a computer and they have an account to some kind of social. Like it's not that big of a thing. Absolutely, you can do Blazing Saddles nowadays. If you had something as pretty awesome as Blazing Saddles with his hilarity and everything like that, sure. Rightfully so. It's one of Nino's favorite movies, Uncle Richard's favorite movies. That's awesome. I think you could. I honestly think you could. And again, it extends out because in all the movies that I've seen of Mel Brooks's, I never think that he has something scathing or poisonous or degrading to say about the things that he's giving to comedy. Him being a Jewish man, he always makes little things like, yeah, he's probably taking the shit on like the craziness of Hollywood and the industry and stuff like that, but obviously Hollywood's doing just fine in one way, shape, or form. Never thought Mel Brooks hated black people. And maybe that's not true. Maybe he had some dealings. Put it in the thing. I think maybe Chappelle, because he was in Dave Chappelle. He was in Robin Hood Men in Tights. Maybe he had something to say about Mel Brooks. Maybe he didn't feel right. Maybe even Cleavon Little didn't something in Blazing Saddles. Maybe he didn't feel right. But it's like, again, intention, my friends, intention. It defines the comedy space. And I don't know, like, I know we're almost 3 hours into this stream. I could probably even go long, just doing this all night. We'll pull an all-nighter, friends, an all-nighter for we'll pull an all-nighter for a stream if I could do that. But I'm already so scatterbrained with some of this stuff. As much as I tried to stay on point, I tried to stay on target like Luke Skywalker, and I don't know if I actually destroyed the Death Star or just shot some random piece of it and now everybody's dead. But like, I think I heard this quote from a channel that I watch called Some More News or something other. I can't remember where I heard this particular quote from. But the particular quote reminds me of it because I had this conversation with an old friend of mine from college, where he said, effectually, either it's all funny or nothing's funny. Okay, it's all funny or nothing's funny. Like it's all fair game, right? And I think at first, at the time, I might have had some feelings, some contentious feelings about that. Not like violent, like I punched him in his face or nothing. Just fucking just chopped him in his fucking throat. No. But I was like, I wonder, like the contention or the consideration or the pushback being like, is that true? Like, is it all funny? Maybe, maybe not. But I thought about it, and literally, figuratively, and I guess sort of structurally, and if you're trying to consider the embracing nature of comedy and what you need to do to put your audience on your side, is it's all about timing. So going with the it's all funny or nothing's funny, you could make a dead baby joke, right? Dead baby jokes, I love them. I got a dark, my humor can be as dark or as dirty as the best of them, right? Yeah, if you got a good baby joke, let me hear it. Would you want to tell a dead baby joke to a mother who just lost her baby? Or maybe she has her dead baby in her arms. Like, oh, dang. She's like, it's my child. Oh my God, my child. She's like holding her dead child in her arms, and you go like, dang. Well, hey. Now you can spend their college funds on like a nice pair of shoes. Like, my man, my person, fuck, wrong moment. And that might not be funny to that mom ever. Timing, place. All funny or nothing's funny. Either it's all funny or nothing's funny. So I will say I grew into thinking that I think I agree. I agree to the extent of the freedom to explore every topic and the freedom to dissect, trisect, quadrisect every topic up until octuple sect every topic to try and find something funny that could probably ease somebody's pain in regards to like dealing with, something pretty heavy in life. Absolutely. Fuck yeah. But the quote I was mentioning earlier was, so comedy has no boundaries, but maybe comedy has no boundaries, but maybe good comedy should. That gave me pause when I first heard it. It really did. It gave me something to really kind of stew over. Good comedy, quality comedy should have boundaries. And I think maybe like the real, I want to say maybe like the real thing about boundaries, it's like it's not about it's not about trying to limit yourself, but the boundary is in the responsibility. The boundary is in the utilization. You know, anybody can technically pick up a samurai sword pretty much and start swinging it around, right? Anybody could pick up a samurai sword and start swinging it around and cut shit and, you know, really injure people and like really kind of use it, you know, to its thing and just like really, you know. But like the utilization of the sword, like its purpose is to be wielded with some mastery and some finesse. And there's like a Optimus Prime. There is an Optimus Prime in using a samurai. Optimize. Why can't I say this fucking word? My goodness, what the the arsonist has oddly shaped feet. The arsonist has oddly shaped feet. Unique New York. Unique New York. Optimization? Is it optimization? Optimization. But I think that is, am I just saying that wrong? Optimization. Anyway, using this fucking sword to the best of its ability. That's where the quote unquote boundary comes from, I think. And it's weird, like it's almost like if you want to be one of the greats, it's almost like you can't be divisive with your comedy. Biting and, you know, a pest to those, maybe if there's corruption, you're a pest to corruption and stupidity. That's my big friendly love. I don't hate many things, friends, because I see a lot of nuance in many things, but one thing I think the race of humans could definitely do without is stupidity. Stupid. Especially the stupid that they hang on to like an abusive lover. Like a very blind, abused lover. They think their stupidity is just like, it comforts me at night and it understands me. No, like, I think masters of stuff like that aren't afforded to like lax. Like, I guess, like, you know, obviously you can, but you really shouldn't. You know? Like, you can, but you shouldn't. Because that's why the greats are Pryor and Carlin. A lot of them, like, say that. And, like, the trio that I've always heard in some of the old, you know, like the Times magazine or, like, Comedy Central, the lists of, like, you know, 100 greatest comics. Times 100 greatest comics, Forbes 100 greatest, you know, like these big news outlets that are like categorizing the best of the, and it's usually like, you know, you're up there with, you know, you usually like it's a battle between Richard Pryor and George Carlin as far as for stand-ups. Then you got like Lenny Bruce. I think Robin Williams is a pretty close one up there. He's usually like in the top 5 or top 10. And I'm sure that list will change nowadays because, you know, a new generation of comics and comedians have been coming up there. So, you know, it's just like, you know, the true masters aren't afforded to be lazy anymore about their comedy. And I understand, especially if you're already there or if people are responding to the lazy. Why? You know, they don't want to work any harder than they have to. Apparently, we're in a world where, man, you can really make a living off of just making a vlog about your day. There's no real production value. There's no nothing. I'm not even hating on that. It's just, I find it fascinating, but it also is like, what the fuck am I doing in this room and with this makeup and this persona? I'm not even the Pink Panther. I'm like the jaded beige barfy colored panther. And I'm not even cool like the Black Panther. I wish I was cool like T'Challa. What do we got from our people? Richard Pryor and others co-wrote Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks, so he got input from the source, so to speak. Yeah, I suppose that's true. You know, again, care. Let's get some jokes in there, written by one of the greatest to ever do it. Let's get some jokes in there and get some satire in there. You know, I don't even know. It's like there's a picture right there. Mel Brooks is a picture. He's got a native headdress on there. I wonder if he got shit for being like a Native American. Young Frankenstein and the History of the World are some of my favorites of the him besides Spaceballs and Men in Tights. Oh man, it's been so long since Young Frankenstein. Just everybody is beautiful in that film. Excuse me. Cousin Vic says, really depends on the time of the comedy as well. At one point, blackface was the normal and funny for the time, but looking at blackface now, not funny at all. The history. Yeah. Yeah, it was widely accepted. You know, that was scathing satire and, you know, caricaturization. And, you know, a lot of people would say like that was just meant to peddle this idea of what black people were in those times, those, you know, coming off the vaudevillian times, you know, the black face, the yellow face, the brown face, red face for what what they call for, you know, indigenous Americans, the brown face for Mexicans and everything. Is like, he's right, absolutely the nature of the time. And that's why, again, the intention, the intention, the evolution, and the mastery of what was going on with these people and these things, like, hence why, you know, again, there's just this weaponization of what comedy can be. It matters. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Hence why I don't have a problem with people saying like it's woke comedy and stuff like that. It matters, but just like many other goddamn things in the world, it's nuanced, but also it's a freaking tightrope to walk. You can't be too virtue signaling to the point where you are really adding to the fire, and you can't be so goddamn poisonous and so goddamn closed-minded. It's like, I'm not even sure if there's a middle ground, but there's again, my people out there, you don't understand the amount of power you have. Chris Rock had a whole thing about it where he says, you want to really shut down a comedian? My sister said it just perfectly too. You want to shut down a comedian? Either turn it off or don't laugh. I have done stand-up comedy. I did it pretty ineffectively for like 2.5 years, friends, and I just got back into it again. The last time I did stand-up comedy, that was the worst set I've ever had on stage, no matter what I did. Whatever I was doing, kind of goofy improv, when I was having just when I was doing a play, it just, nothing was when I last did stand-up comedy, like, I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, to like crickets. I think I got one pity laugh, and it was a confused pity laugh. But I did everything wrong in my stand-up set. I looked like I had been doing stand-up comedy for 12 seconds, and that kind of sucks because I was 3 minutes into my set. All right? Not laughing at a comedian will fuck them up. I promise you. I promise you, friends, it will fuck them up. And it will, another thing too is like the greats, or anyone who's trying to really be great, what it'll actually do is force them to reevaluate what they're bringing to the table. Like, dang, this isn't funny, but, you know, is it the audience? Is it the time of day, is it this, is it that, is like the external factors. But a great comedian will take what's actually in their control. Is like, is it my wordplay, is it my presentation, was I off that night, was it my timing, did I not come with the right, like, it's so true. You don't understand the power you have out there, friends, to shut dumb shit down. And I know even that has the perspective. That's why I don't want to hear all this bullshit about, like, comedians say this all the time, as people say this. There's just people out there who really think that they got a hard grasp on reality. They're like, excuse me, I live in objective reality. I live in objective reality. Okay. All this stuff is like, okay, I live in objective reality. Nah, my friend. Objective reality, you don't live in objective reality. You live in perspective reality. Everybody does. Everybody does. Ain't no objective reality. It's perspective reality. That's how we quantify these things. These comedians really go off on people. And it's like, dude, no. My people, no. And we have the power, or y'all have the power to shut dumb down. But I know what's dumb to one group of people is gospel, God tier, Saitama, One Punch Man level intellect to another group of people. So, I don't know. It's tough. Yoink. And I love the potential of evolution of the comedy and the sphere in which it thrives. And I also love the potential evolution of the people who are receiving it. Because that's what you got to do. I'm saying, like, this, like, what the hell is wrong with learning something different, breaking the status quo, opening your mind to stuff? What the fuck? Like, I'm gonna be Joe Pesci for that. What the fuck are you afraid of? The fuck am I looking at here? The world is so big. I don't understand. What the fuck are you afraid of? For the expansion of your mind, do you understand that that's how we get things done? What the fuck are you afraid of? Are you afraid of leaving your objective reality? Or are you actually, what you're actually afraid of is breaking your perspective reality? I don't know, man. I just know I love it. And just like, oh God, that is good Louisiana whiskey. I like this conversation. And he's right, the times have such beautiful things to do. I wonder what, in 40 years, how we will look back at this time, if there's going to be a categorization of this particular time in entertainment and comedy, like what it'll be like, What could it possibly, like, what would be the categorization of this type of comedy? The divisive era, the hard lined, the dodgeball era of entertainment and comedy, where it was just really like the line was set and there are two teams just out to bean each other. That might be it. That might be what's going on with the future of this type of stuff. And I want to know your thoughts, friend. If there's anybody out there who's who's really kind of curious and wants to put in their things, again, There's a reason I say best of my current knowledge. I'll let you figure out that reason, but there is a reason why I say best of my current knowledge. All in all, my friends, what I'm saying is I love Christopher Titus. I love a lot of comedians, man. And I will say it's kind of true that you don't see a lot of comedy movies coming out nowadays. They usually go like straight to a streaming service, which I'm kind of sad about, you know? Kind of sad that the comedy has sort of died over the years. Or not died, it's not died. Like death is not no. It's definitely gotten, it's shrunk, you know? It got a little weaker in the eyes of the public. Trying to think of like maybe like the last kind of really great. I mean, I guess you could say Deadpool and Wolverine. Kind of the combination, but it's not like I'm talking about a very like, you know, a specific this movie is a comedy. I don't know why, but the last one that came to my head was The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage, Pedro Pascal. I guess yeah, like that's probably like the last one I can think of, like just a buddy comedy, a very very kind of ridiculously, satirical, and self, Nicolas Cage taking a little bit of like a little bit of gas out of his thing is like, about being Nicolas Cage. I'm trying to think of other ones that have come out like in theaters, like in the main in the main cinemas, not going straight to a streaming platform. Can't think of any. Man. Let's see. My goodness, that Algerian whiskey is just right. I just typed in comedies in the last 5 years. There's Jojo Rabbit. Well, I guess this is a dramedy, but like a straight comedy. I mean, maybe that's tough. Maybe Stuber. I actually want to always see this movie. Renfield, okay, I heard, and I actually heard that was pretty good. Oh, I gotta because we said it before. Slapstick and just like absurd thing. Weird, the Al Yankovic story. I don't remember if that came out in theaters, but that was a great film. Daniel Radcliffe, like that is just a fun, awesome. That is a comedy. I guess there we go. Clerks 3. I didn't see Clerks 3 actually, and I'm a K. Smith fan. But yeah, I imagine yes, a comedy. I also don't know if Clerks 3 got a wide release in theaters. Let's see. Willy's Wonderland. I've heard about The People's Joker. Oh, hey, there it is. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Renfield. Bullet Train. I thought Bullet Train was a action. Maybe like action comedy, but like, yeah. Zombieland Double Tap? That came out in the last 5 years? Huh, 2009. Okay, so just, yeah, basically, I guess at the tail end. I guess, yeah, okay, you know, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Does that mean Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom? Why isn't Ghostbusters Frozen Kingdom on here? Or is that what it's called, Frozen Kingdom? But yeah, not like comedies. I know I'm not the first one to make this. I'm not the first one to make this point. I did want to see Bodies, 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 but I heard the Dolomite movie was pretty fun. I'm not the first person to make this point, but that the straight comedy, like if you're talking like how you said, Big Sis, like scary movie, you know, any movies like Airplane, Naked Gun, you know, something like Robin Hood Men in Tights, where this is clearly comedy, right? How you define a comedy where the stakes aren't necessarily, you know, they're important, but like the nature of what's going on, your experience is to not you get invested only so much. Oh, The Lost City. Okay, I guess maybe still maybe, but like I wasn't the first person to make the point that there is no just a completely laid out, dyed in the wool comedy. It's usually like action comedy, romance comedy, dramedy. Like I'm not sure how you would. I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Good movie, really liked it. Like there is like there's comedic aspects. I guess you would probably like a comedic drama, like maybe like dry, like it's like a bit of a dry, dark humor. Obviously, something Tarantino's known for. But like I said, like even that is like it's just a different. It's like a comedy with a tail, you know, a comedy with a comedy with a qualifier, or a qualifier that has comedy in it. You know, maybe not even a comedy with a clarifier, not a qualifier, but a clarifier. Yeah, that's a good like thing. Like I wonder, yoink. Yeah, it's a tough one, friends. I just know I love it. I love it in its stand-up form. I love it in its movie form and its television form. I love it in its improvisational form. Absurd, slapstick, goofy, dry, dark. If there's one sort of comedy that I'm not, it's not even that I'm not a fan of, but it's the one that I probably ingest the least amount as far as for quantity, as far as for what I actually like to see. Or not like to see, but like just the amount I watch until I'm like, okay, I'm good, is I usually don't really go for cringe comedy. I completely understand why it's popular, you know, and I completely understand why people like it, because it does elicit a very specific reaction in you of like a laughter, but you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I get that, but it's not my thing. I can watch it, appreciate it, but usually in shorter spurts than I can say, you know, definitely shorter than slapstick or dark or, you know, dry comedy. Usually cringe comedy is something I don't eat. I don't take in a lot of. And I guess maybe I just don't watch a lot of it, but you know, it's like I remember I did still watch like the Jackass movies. I watched like the first two back in the day. Like I saw Borat. And I guess it's like some of that is cringe, but I know it's like also like prank humor, gross out humor, like the humor of the humor of discomfort and pain, like stuff like that. Like I don't watch it too much, but I get it. That's just not the ones I prefer to ingest. Over and over again. Jerry Stephen Camacho says it did not come out. It did not come out in theaters. The Weird Al movie. See, that sucks. Probably went straight to streaming. But again, like a straight up comedy with Weird Al's very like the with the cinematography very much like a crazy independent biopic with just beautiful pepperings and layers of his old movie UHF. I love it. I love it so much. I think most of my people are like out and about right now. I think most of my lovelies, my audience, they are probably asleep so late. So what do you say, my friend? Shall I call it for this lovely evening? Anybody else has anything to add to the beautifulness that is comedy and wokeness and all these things? This educational, completely disjointed and ill-organized. I really tried. There's so much to say. I could probably do another 3 hours of this thing on a different day, maybe. Just talking about different forms of comedy and stuff like that, and going into its implications and its strength and its weaknesses, and how it probably be wielded to just really be awesome for everybody. But if not, my friends, I'll tell you what. Thank you so much for sticking with me for this very long and hefty stream. This is the longest one I've done so far. If you'd love to help support the channel, hopefully now that I got the setup working more, and now that it's starting to cool off, it won't be so bad to like perform for you guys. Yeah, it'd be much easier to get this on, because in the winter months it's nice in the room and it's not so insulated and hot. And I got the setup as best we can, as best as we can get this going right now. But if you would like to support the channel, go ahead and go down to the description below. You can see out some just like the Buy Me a Coffee links and some PayPals if you want to help support what we do here over at Heyoka Unleashed. And I love and thank you all for sticking by and enjoying this. Go ahead and click on the channel, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button for like the notifications, comment, just leave on a stream for whatever. Like, it helps that Al Gore rhythm. Al Gore, a man bear pig, and rhythm. He has rhythm because rhythm is a dancer. But no, to comment and like and subscribe helps the algorithm, because that's how everything is run nowadays, pretty much. It lets YouTube know and become aware of my existence as a performer and a YouTuber and an entertainer and everything like that. It helps them aware that I am alive, and it gets them out to more people. So do all the internet-y thingy, folks, of like, comment, subscribe, and much appreciate it for you. I'm gonna keep try and do these things more often now that we got a good setup, because I love being here with y'all, and I love talking to y'all, and love just doing the things with y'all. I love it. I love it. I love it. I forgot how much I love it. I love it. All right. This is Dimitri, your friendly neighborhood Hayoka. My friends, saying to you, remember, peace is the default. Think about it. Damn near everything is nuanced. Think about it. And please, just be fucking excellent to each other. All right, y'all. I think that's a see you later. Now, what's funny about a sign off? Just got a new person? Looking forward to it? Looking forward to what? Looking forward to what, Raina? Victor's here. Everybody's here. What is going on? Oh, man. First they enter in the chat and they go over there. Then they enter in the other chat and they go over there. Then they go into the other chat and throw them over there. Sorry, I actually just watched The Wizard of Oz like 2 weeks ago, and I'm so happy I did because I love The Wizard of Oz. But you are here. I'm glad. I'm glad you're all here. So great. So great. That's what a way to end a stream that I was supposed to stream end so long ago. So long ago. My goodness gracious. Goodbye. I'm